Chapter 370. Jiang Xi calculated carefully in his heart. My clone is still refining his spiritual sense. It will probably take a long time before it's done. If I want to improve my strength, I'll have to rely on my Tao techniques. As long as any one of the three Taos of heaven and earth breaks through to the next level, my strength will improve. Next, I'll continue to deduce. However, after a day of deduction, he started to worry. Because the efficiency of deduction was too low. It was tens of times slower than in the ancient Tao source world. In the ancient Tao source world, deduction would consume millions of experience points, and there would be slight changes in the Tao techniques. But now, deduction would consume tens of millions of experience points, and there would only be changes. Jiang Xi was naturally aware of the reason. Compared to the original universe, the Tao techniques in the ancient Tao source world were unstable and easier to comprehend. Therefore, his deduction efficiency would be higher there. The tune of 10,000 swords deduction effect on sword Tao is also not that obvious. Jiang Xi shook his head again. This was because he was about to fully grasp the tune of 10,000 swords. No matter what, he had to think of a way to increase the efficiency of deduction. After experiencing the pleasure of 100 times faster, he would definitely not be used to returning to normal speed. At this moment, his communication pearl showed that someone had sent him a message. He scanned it with his spiritual sense and smiled. After the call connected, a phantom that looked like a real person appeared in front of Riverward. Disciple greets Master. Jiang Xi bowed respectfully. Disciple, we haven't seen each other for a few days. Did you miss me? The wine sword immortal was still slovenly and his clothes were unbuttoned. Disciple has some cultivation problems and would like to ask Master for help. Jiang Xi smiled. The wine sword immortal took a sip of wine and shook his head. Do you feel that your cultivation speed has slowed down a lot? How does Master know? Because all the cultivators who have just left the ancient Tao source world will encounter this problem. Does that mean Master has a way to solve this problem? Jiang Xi's eyes lit up. I came to find you because of this. The wine sword immortal smiled, then he said, search for the Lotus Sword Manual in the Purple Heaven Sect's treasure vault. Jiang Xi's mind stirred, and another three-dimensional phantom appeared in front of him. It was the Purple Heaven Sect's treasure pavilion. Search for the Lotus Sword Manual. Suddenly, a list of information appeared in the virtual store. Green Lotus Sword Technique, 680,000 points. It's a high-level technique of the Green Lotus Sword Technique. Only disciples of the third sky and above can purchase it. The price made Jiang Xi's teeth ache. 680,000 points. After conversion, it would be 68 million top-grade spiritual crystals. He then looked at his balance. 30,912 points. For young cultivators who were entering the ancient Tao origin world for the first time, the points they would be rewarded for challenging the sky-piercing mountain would be 10 times more than normal. In the end, he passed the 5th level and obtained 31,000 points. Previously, in order to buy the tune of 10,000 swords, he had spent 88 points and kept the rest. At that time, Jiang Xi knew how precious the points were and did not dare to spend them recklessly. But from the looks of it now, no matter how frugal they were, it was still not enough. Master, I can't afford this. Jiang Xi looked at the wine sword immortal. The wine sword immortal smiled and said, of course you can't afford it, and even I can't afford it. All the points I've accumulated over the years have been exchanged for wine. However, this is the Sword Tao manual written by your master's wife. 50,000 years ago, the wine sword immortal joined forces with a tribulation transcender to defeat and seriously injure a Tao immortal of the monster race. Could it be because of this? Jiang Xi shook his head and temporarily put this guess in the bottom of his heart. Of course, he was concerned about the wine sword immortal. But with his current strength, he was still far from the tribulation transcender or Tao immortal level. It was better to calm down and cultivate. When he was strong enough, everything would naturally be clear. He turned his attention back to the content of the Lotus Sword Manual. The Lotus Sword Manual is a high-level manual that explains the Green Lotus Sword Dao's sword intent level. There are a total of 10 sword techniques, which correspond to the 10 realms of sword intent. Every sword technique has 7,200 moves. If it was an ordinary Green Lotus Sword Way cultivator, they would be able to use it. If it's a normal Green Lotus Sword Dao, it would probably take at least 1,000 years or even 10,000 years to comprehend these sword techniques. Thinking of this, Jiang Xi smiled. With the experience points panel, he was of course not afraid of these troubles. Sword intent corresponds to the Great Dao level of conventional Daoist techniques. I hope this manual can help me deduce the Sword Dao. He was looking forward to it and started to deduce in his heart. Use the Purple Firmament Sword Manual, the Sword Dao, and the Lotus Sword Manual to deduce once. After a while, the deduction ended. He carefully sensed it. It seemed like there was a change, but it also seemed like there was no change. Chapter 371. Jiang Xi was very patient and deduced 100 times in a row. Once again, he felt the changes in his Dao technique. It's working. This was at least 10 times faster than the speed at which he had deduced the previous time. Of course, it was still slower than the deduction in the ancient Dao source world. 10 times faster is better than nothing. Jiang Xi laughed. This way, the cultivation speed of his Dao technique had increased again. His master, the Wine Sword Immortal, had given him a big gift. Jiang Dudu, who was cultivating in the palace, also smiled when she heard Jiang Xi's carefree laughter. No matter where she was, as long as she could be by Jiang Xi's side, it was fine. However, Jiang Xi only quietly deduced his Dao technique for a few days before stopping his cultivation. Because he had guests. The other young geniuses who had just entered the third heaven came to Jiang Xi's house as guests. Mu Ning, Mo Hong, Feng Lu, Xue Tong, Li Xianxian, and Lin Ling. Although there was competition between them, their relationship was usually not that tense. After the 6 of them teleported over, they were attracted by the palace built by Jiang Xi and Jiang Dudu. Jiang Xi, you built such a big palace, but I only built a thatched hut. Mu Ning looked around and was envious. That's because you don't know how to enjoy it. Jiang Xi laughed. No, I have to get one later. Mu Ning was unwilling to admit defeat. The other 5 also laughed. Jiang Dudu was just playing the role of the hostess and preparing some food. Although they didn't need to eat anymore, she still made some symbolically. After the tour, the new geniuses of the third heaven sat on the ground beside the spirit spring. Jiang Xi, do you feel that your cultivation speed has slowed down a lot? Mo Hong asked. You guys feel it too? Jiang Xi asked in return, which was equivalent to admitting it. He also didn't reveal that he had solved this problem. How can we not feel that our cultivation speed has slowed down by dozens of times? Feng Lu also sighed. I've asked an old disciple of the third heaven. They all buy the corresponding high-level Dao techniques to increase their cultivation speed. Li Xianxian said. Lin Ling shook her head and said, high-level books are too expensive. At least 100,000 points. We can't afford it. The few of them spoke one after another about the difficulties they had encountered recently. Bloodchild, who had always been silent, suddenly spoke. I'm going to take on a cultivation mission, just like Lord Iron Mountain said. The past 30 years in the ancient Dao origin world have been too peaceful, so much so that we've forgotten that battle is the fastest way to improve our strength. Only by experiencing the terror of life and death would one be able to experience greater power. Before the 9-region genius battle, I experienced countless battles and traversed mountains of corpses and seas of blood, so my cultivation speed isn't much slower than when I was in the ancient Dao origin world. Agreed. The others echoed. Both of them are working so hard. Looks like I can't relax either. Mu Ning muttered softly. Riverward's expression was calm. What had happened on the teleportation platform a few days ago had shocked everyone. They, as third heaven disciples, had noble statuses. However, in front of tribulation transcenders, perfected lords, and Tao lords, they were not worth mentioning at all. Everyone felt that they were weak and did not dare to relax. They could only work harder. The geniuses were not willing to fall behind. Mu Ning and the others stayed at Jiang Xi's place to exchange their cultivation experiences and stayed for 3 days before leaving. After they left, Jiang Xi fell into deep thought beside the spirit spring. Jiang Daodu stood guard at the side. She knew what Jiang Xi was thinking. The two of them had a tacit understanding. Jiang Daodu suddenly smiled and said, "Big brother, since you've already made a decision, just do it." Jiang Xi sighed softly with a complicated expression. A few days ago, Wine Sword Immortal suggested that he take on a cultivation mission. At that time, he was still a little hesitant. What Mu Ning and the others said just now had touched him again. Using the EXP panel steadily could indeed increase one's strength. However, there was another saying, "Time waits for no man." If he walked slower than others, he would fall behind. More importantly, the Yen family's patriarch's karma divination made him feel a trace of fear. More than 6,000 years ago, this perfected cultivator already knew of his existence. What about the secret of Earth? Did the Yen family's patriarch know? If another karma divination cultivator who was even more powerful than the Yen family's patriarch came, would he be able to directly see the secret of Earth? These were all hidden threats. And his current strength was still too weak. Therefore, he also needed to fight and become stronger as soon as possible. Jiang Daodu also understood this point and did not stop him. "The only thing is that no matter what you do, you must come back alive," Jiang Daodu said with a serious expression. "What are you thinking about?" "I don't want to lose my life outside." Jiang Xi rubbed Jiang Daodu's head like before. After Jiang Daodu went to cultivate, Jiang Xi held the communication bead in his hand. With a thought, he entered the cultivation center of the Purple Heaven Sect's intranet through the Eye of Sky Mountain network. A three-dimensional image appeared in front of him, including cultivation missions, cultivation techniques, and so on. He looked at the cultivation missions and found that there were 4 categories: normal, difficult, dangerous, and hell. These were the 4 difficulty levels and each of them had a mortality rate. Normal missions, mortality rate is 10%. On average, 1 out of 10 disciples will die. Difficult missions, mortality rate is 30%. Dangerous missions, mortality rate is 50%. Hell missions, mortality rate is 90%. Jiang Xi thought for a while and entered the dangerous missions. The next moment, a message popped up in the 3-dimensional image. Warning, the mortality rate of the missions is only the statistics under normal circumstances. If you choose the dangerous missions for the first time, the mortality rate is 70%. There are more than 1 million core disciples in the Purple Heaven sect, but very few of them can truly enter the immortal realm. More than 60% of them die in various cultivation missions. Level 3 Disciple Jiang Xi, I hope you will consider carefully before you choose. Jiang Xi's expression did not change. Of course, it was not that easy to become an immortal. Choosing the normal and difficult missions was indeed very safe, but it would also lose the effect of cultivation. Chapter 372. The Battle Pattern Continent is a starry sky continent that existed when the Third Heaven was first established. Its largest diameter can reach 100 million light-years. Its huge area gave birth to countless lives, and after a long time, it evolved into various unique civilizations. There are also cultivators on this continent, but their cultivation method is somewhat different from the original universe. After reading the detailed description of the mission, Jiang Xi was filled with interest about the Battle Pattern Continent. This continent was very interesting. Due to its large area, it has all kinds of rich cultivation resources. There are also immortal Tao powerhouses there, but the strongest is only a tribulation transcender. Moreover, the Battle Pattern Continent has been set up by the powerhouses of the Purple Heaven sect. Even tribulation transcenders can't rush out of it. Seeing this, Jiang Xi somewhat understood. This place was specially set aside by the Purple Heaven sect for their disciples to gain experience and improve. The Third Heaven was equivalent to a small universe. Living in this world were not only the 1,200 Purple Heaven sect disciples, but also all kinds of life forms in secret realms. The Battle Pattern continent was one of the ancient civilizations with a long history, and its overall strength was very strong. In Jiang Xi's opinion, it was even more powerful than many star regions of the Tao Alliance's 9 regions. The Battle Pattern continent is full of hatred for foreign cultivators. Moreover, they only cultivate the 5 elements, and other Taoists are regarded as heretical. I have the Tao of Fire, so it's not a problem at all. I just need to learn the language of the Battle Pattern continent. Jiang Xi chose to accept the Battle Pattern continent mission. The 3D phantom in front of him showed new information. Battle Pattern continent mission objectives and rewards. 1. Obtain a Tao Pattern blood crystal. Completion will give you 10,000 points. 2. Become a Tao Pattern cultivator. Completion will give you 100,000 points. Note: completion of the first objective will be considered a success. In the past 10 million years, only one cultivator who chose this mission has completed both objectives at the same time. Third Heaven Disciple Jiang Xi, you have chosen the Battle Pattern continent mission. 1 month later, the sect will send someone to send you to the Battle Pattern continent. A message popped up in the 3D phantom. Jiang Xi let out a light breath. Looking at the mission introduction, the Tao Pattern blood crystal only exists in the Battle Pattern continent. It's not found anywhere else in the original universe. I wonder what's so special about it. He searched the Eye of Heaven network, but there were no results. It's probably because my authority level isn't high enough. Jiang Xi shook his head. We'll set off in a month's time. I need to prepare well. Although the mission description is very detailed, it's still an unknown world. He then entered the Purple Heaven sect's treasure pavilion. After a careful search, he found many good things. Low-grade immortal treasure soul extinguishing scroll, one-time use, 1 million points. If used in a surprise attack, it can kill up to Tribulation Transcenders. Low-grade immortal level spirit type battle armor, 360,000 points. It can withstand a full-powered attack from a 3rd Tribulation Transcender at most. Low-grade immortal weapon, Flame Devil Saber, 880,000 points. Supreme grade spirit artifact Soul Annihilation Scroll, one-time use, 10,000 points. If used by surprise, it can annihilate late-stage Tao integration cultivators. Supreme grade flying boat, 3,000 points. Maximum speed is 3 times the speed of light. After browsing for half a day, Jiang Xi looked up and sighed. I'm too poor. In the end, he mainly bought a supreme-grade flying boat and a supreme-grade spirit artifact, Soul Annihilation Scroll. The first was to escape, and the second was to kill the enemy. These were his trump cards. As for the supreme-grade spirit artifact and supreme-grade battle armor, he had already bought them last time. No matter how fast I am now, I can't reach the speed of light. If I encounter danger, I can directly escape with the flying boat. If I really can't escape, I can only use the Soul Annihilation Scroll. Of course, this was the worst-case scenario. For no reason, he wouldn't provoke an enemy that he couldn't deal with. After placing the order, he deducted the points and waited for the delivery. Because Jiang Xi was in the 3rd heavenly layer of the Purple Heaven sect, just an hour later, the items were delivered by an Essence Soul disciple. After receiving the items, he began to refine the supreme-grade flying boat with all his strength. With the current strength of his spiritual sense, he should be able to refine it within a month. As for the supreme-grade spirit artifact Soul Annihilation Scroll, it was a one-time use magical treasure and didn't need to be refined. When using it, he could directly activate it with his spiritual sense. Time flew, and a month quickly passed. On this day, Jiang Xi was fully armed and ready to set off. Brother, remember my words. Jiang Daodu said seriously. Don't worry, wait for me to come back. Jiang Xi smiled and waved his hand as he walked towards the teleportation array. In front of the teleportation array, a young cultivator in purple armor was standing. Senior brother Jiang Xi, I am Wan Yi, a disciple of the 1st heavenly layer. I am under the orders of the sect to send you to the Dou Pattern continent. The young man smiled. Thank you, sorry to trouble you. Jiang Ci nodded and thanked him. He could see through the cultivation of the essence soul stage, but he couldn't see through Wan Ye's, so the other party could only be a Dao integration stage disciple. Luan Yi called him senior brother because according to the rules of the Purple Heaven sect, disciples of lower heavenly layers had to address disciples of higher heavenly layers as senior brother. Of course, this was just a rule. He wasn't stupid enough to act arrogantly in front of a Dao integration stage disciple. Senior brother, you're welcome. Luan Yi chuckled. Obviously, Jiang Ci's attitude made him very comfortable. Then shall we set off now? Luan Yi confirmed. Let's go. Jiang Ci nodded and then waved at Jiang Daodu in the distance again. Luan Yi activated the teleportation array, and the two of them disappeared in the dazzling light of the teleportation array. Cultivate. Jiang Daodu clenched her fists tightly, unwilling to be left behind. After a series of spatial changes, Jiang Ci and Luan Yi appeared on a teleportation platform in the starry sky. In front of them was a huge palace the size of a planet, motionless in the starry sky. Countless cosmic dust and star fragments floated around them. Chapter 373. The fog formed by the array was very thick. Jiang Ci deliberately controlled the speed of his descent so as not to cause a huge commotion. It took him a total of 5 hours to break through the fog and see the land of the Do Tattoo continent. I have to be careful here. I might encounter cultivators from the Do Tattoo continent. I should hide and figure out the situation before taking action. With that thought in mind, Jiang Ci quickly landed in a mountain range covered with dense forests. This mountain range truly explained what was called the 100,000 Mountains. It stretched on for tens of thousands of kilometers. As it was in the third heaven world, the spirit energy here was also very rich. The vegetation in the Do Tattoo continent was obviously much more lush. Towering trees that were thousands of meters tall could be seen everywhere. Jiang Ci strolled leisurely in this mountain range and observed the environment. These details could not be found in the mission information. The plants are already so strong. The animals must not be simple. Jiang Ci's spirit consciousness spread out in all directions. Soon, he discovered many powerful animals that were very similar to the monsters on Earth. Roar! A one-legged bull that was almost 1,000 meters tall rushed out of the forest. It let out a thunderous roar and attacked Jiang Ci. Jiang Ci grinned. His body flashed and he swung his long sword lightly. He did not even use Taoist techniques. The huge one-legged bull's roar came to an abrupt end as it fell to the ground with a loud bang. You killed a level 8 savage beast, middle stage golden core. Experience points plus 1250. A level 8 savage beast? Any wild beast has the strength of a golden core. It seems that the human cultivators here cannot be underestimated. Jiang Ci remained cautious and continued moving forward. He had to leave this forest first and go to a place with human habitation. Only then could he gather information. With his strength, he would be able to leave very quickly if he ran at full speed. However, to be cautious, it was better to keep a low profile. If a powerful cultivator used their spirit consciousness to discover him, he might be in danger. Not long ago, at the edge of this forest, a 4-man warrior team wearing black armor was about to enter the forest. However, they were stopped by another 4-man warrior team wearing red armor. Shaolin, you coward! How dare you come to the 100,000 Mountains? One of the red-armored youths sneered. Among the black-armored martial artists, a youth with a youthful face said angrily with a flushed face, "And Yuan, don't look down on people. This time, I will definitely hunt down a grade 3 savage beast." Ha ha ha. The 3 youths of the red-armored warrior team suddenly burst into laughter. Only the pretty girl in red armor frowned and shouted, "All right, if you have the time, think about how to hunt the savage beasts." Yunxiang, you're speaking up for Shaolin again. Who doesn't know that this kid is the weakest martial artist in Black Cloud Academy? He hasn't even killed a level 3 savage beast after 5 years of cultivation. And Yuan sneered again. Xiao Lin, who was wearing black armor, glared at In Yuan, but he could not refute what In Yuan said. He stole another glance at the captain of the Red Armor Squad, Yun Xiang, with mixed feelings. Being belittled like this in front of his sweetheart made him very uncomfortable. Then, the two teams split into two groups and entered the 100,000 mountains. Xiao Lin, fight for yourself. In a while, the three of us will create the conditions for you to hunt, but in the end, you'll still be the one to do it. The captain of the Black Armor Squad said in a deep voice. He sighed in his heart. If not for the elders in Xiao Lin's family taking care of him, he would not have brought Xiao Lin to the 100,000 mountains to train. Jiang Xi gently shook his head. Thank you very much. Captain, I think this big brother isn't very strong. It's quite dangerous here. Why don't we? Xiao Lin was about to say something. Suddenly, there was movement in the forest in the distance. It was the sound of messy footsteps. Xiao Lin, the captain, and the others immediately looked over. They saw Yun Xiang leading a team of 4 through the forest. It's been killed. An Yuan's expression changed. Their team was the first to discover the four-eyed savage beast. They followed it here, but they did not expect it to be killed. Did you guys kill it? An Yuan's gaze turned to Xiao Lin and the others with an unfriendly expression. I killed it. Xiao Lin snorted coldly. Haha, what a joke. An Yuan laughed loudly. Jiang Xi frowned slightly. He had planned to go with the warm-hearted young man, Xiao Lin. He wanted to leave the forest and go to a city with humans. Now that there was a conflict, it seemed that the plan had to be changed. Conflict would bring trouble, and there was no way to keep a low profile. Chapter 374. Missions in the Do Tattoo continent were considered dangerous missions. The official mortality rate was as high as 50%. If it was their first time doing a dangerous mission, the mortality rate would reach 70%. That was why Jiang Xi never let his guard down and treated everything cautiously. He would try his best not to make a move if he could. He kept a low profile. As for Xiao Lin's safety, Jiang Xi was not worried. That was because this warm-hearted youth was stronger than the one who laughed loudly. A rank 4 warrior is equivalent to an early-stage spirit nurture warrior, and these youths are only 15 or 16 years old. This shows how powerful this continent is as a whole. Just as Jiang Xi was thinking about these things, the confrontation between the two teams of martial artists was still ongoing. And Yuan, don't go overboard. Everyone in our team can prove that this rank 3 beast was killed by Xiao Lin, Lian Hu said in a deep voice. Humph, I don't care who killed you. Anyway, we found the beast first. The materials on the beast should belong to us. And Yuan was very strong. Dream on. I killed this beast. Xiao Lin was enraged and drew his sword again. And Yuan. That's enough. The red-armored girl, Yun Xiang, shouted and stopped In Yuan. And Yuan's expression was a little ugly, but he was not as strong as Yun Xiang, so he did not dare to do anything. We only saw the beast and did not attack. It's impossible to determine who did it with just a glance. Yun Xiang reasoned with him. Let's go and find the next one. Before she left, she looked at Xiao Lin. Do your best. Show everyone your results. Xiao Lin was stunned for a moment. He looked at the girl's back and waved his fist excitedly. Do your best, Xiao Lin. Do your best. Haha, Lian Hu and the other two mimicked Yun Xiang's words and teased in unison. Xiao Lin did not lower his head this time, but he was much braver and his gaze was firm. Beside him, Jiang Xi also laughed. That warm-hearted youth was quite interesting. Not only that, but the red-armored girl named Yun Xiang was not as simple as she looked. Finally, Xiao Lin invited Jiang Xi to come along again. Without conflict, Jiang Xi was naturally willing. He could follow them and understand the situation here in advance. In Xiao Lin's opinion, Jiang Xi was probably an adventurer who came to the 100,000 mountains to train. This was because he didn't sense any martial artist's aura from Jiang Xi. That sword also looked ordinary. It was probably just an ordinary weapon. Brother Jiang, where are you from? Xiao Lin asked curiously. Jiang Xi smiled and said, I've traveled far and wide. The four seas are my home. Xiao Lin thought to himself that he was indeed an adventurer. However, being alone was too pitiful. Sympathy welled up in his heart. Has Brother Jiang ever left the Black Cloud territory and traveled to other cities? Xiao Lin asked again. No, Jiang Xi replied. Kid, don't ask questions. The Black Cloud territory is so big. If you're not a rank 9 warrior, you won't have the strength to go out. Lian Hu patted Xiao Lin's head and smiled apologetically at Jiang Xi. As the captain of a small team of warriors, he was naturally more knowledgeable than Xiao Lin. Lian Hu always felt that this black-haired youth named Jiang Xi was not that simple. This was because Jiang Xi was too relaxed. In this dangerous 100,000 mountains, he could still be so calm. Jiang Xi did not care. These youths who had not even reached the golden core stage could not see his strength. He was thinking about Lian Hu's words just now. Black Cloud territory and rank 9 warrior were two key pieces of information. There were hundreds of millions of tribes in the Dou pattern continent. The area of each tribe was at least 1 million square kilometers. Above the tribes were various territories, such as the Black Cloud territory. Above the territory was the main city. Chapter 375. There were a few thuds. A rank 8 warrior and 4 rank 7 warriors all fell to the ground. What? Yun Xiang's eyes widened in disbelief. How did they all die? At that moment, she saw a black-haired youth standing under a towering tree not far away. It's him. The person beside Xiao Lin before. He quietly killed a rank 8 warrior and 4 rank 7 warriors. With such strength, could he be a one-pattern doja? Yun Xiang suppressed the shock in her heart and tried to calm herself down. She walked in front of Jiang Xi. Senior, thank you for saving my life. She bowed respectfully. Don't be in a hurry to thank me. I have a condition for saving you. Jiang Xi smiled. Senior, please speak. Dao pattern mystic technique. Just these 4 words made Yun Xiang fall into silence. She was asking herself, was it worth it? The Yun family was exterminated because of the Dao pattern mystic technique that they obtained by chance. Now, in order to survive, she had to hand over the Dao pattern mystic technique. Was it worth it? Yun Xiang was a decisive person and quickly thought it through. Her family was gone. As long as she could survive, so what if she handed it over? Use your spiritual sense to input the Dao pattern mystic technique. Jiang Xi handed her a blank jade slip. Yun Xiang looked at the jade slip and confirmed her guess. This black-haired youth was definitely a one-pattern doja. After a while, she returned the jade slip to Jiang Xi. Make another oath to confirm that there are no flaws in the Dao pattern mystic technique in this jade slip. I will say it and you will recite it. Jiang Xi smiled. Yun Xiang did as she was told. Jiang Xi nodded in satisfaction. Then, there was an item in his hand. It was a transparent mask. Seeing this scene, Yun Xiang was shocked. A spatial treasure. I'm not taking your things for free. This is a disguised treasure that I used in my early years. As long as one isn't a 2-pattern Do master, they won't be able to see through the mask's disguise. I think it should be of help to you. Jiang Xi took out the low-grade spirit artifact mask that the Wen siblings gave him when he went to Morone Planet. A 1-pattern doja was at the perfected golden core stage while a 2-pattern Do master was at the nascent soul stage. This junior will never forget senior's great kindness. Yun Xiang was pleasantly surprised and hurriedly thanked him. It's a fair trade. Riverward smiled. Low-grade spirit weapons were not worth mentioning to him now. In comparison, the Dao pattern mystic technique was something that he wanted. Moreover, the way of refining weapons in the Do Tattoo continent was very backward. Even a low-grade spiritual weapon was exceptionally precious to them. Take care of yourself. I've taken care of the last black-clothed man for you. After saying that, Jiang Xi disappeared. Yun Xiang grabbed the impersonator's mask and bowed 3 times in the direction where Jiang Xi had been standing. Then, he entered the depths of the 100,000 mountains without looking back. Inside a secluded cave, she refined the impersonator's mask and understood the function of this artifact. What a powerful magic treasure! With this item, I don't have to be afraid of being hunted down by the Grand Lord's mansion. As long as one is not a 2-line dosher, they will not be able to discover my true identity. Yun Xiang was extremely excited. Although the Overlord's mansion had a 2-striped dosher, a strong person of this level would not personally search everywhere. Therefore, she was very safe now. As long as she changed her identity, she could continue to lurk in the Black Cloud territory and look for an opportunity to take revenge. On the other side, Jiang Xi returned to Shaolin's team. He had only left for 3 minutes. The speed of killing people and giving treasures was very fast. Rumor has it that 10 years ago, the Yun family of the Green Flame tribe was exterminated in this way. Another youth nodded in agreement. Don't talk nonsense. Lian Hu glared at them. Shaolin remained silent at that moment. He thought of Yun Xiang. However, he knew that Yun Xiang was not a member of the Yun family of the Green Flame tribe. After all, the Black Cloud Academy was in the Black Cloud territory. If there was a problem with Yun Xiang's identity, it would have been found out by the dark operation. At that moment, Lian Hu looked at Jiang Xi quietly. He always felt that this black-haired youth was strange. However, how could his actions be hidden from Jiang Xi? Jiang Xi did not care. This vigilant youth could not have discovered his strength. Then, they continued to walk in the direction of the Black Cloud territory. After seeing the dark operation of the Lord's mansion, the youths sped up and wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. After another half a day, the group of black-clothed people rode on savage beasts and returned from the back. Stop! A loud shout rang out. The group of black-clothed people quickly stopped them. The 4 youths immediately became nervous. Jiang Xi did not move. They could not tell if he was nervous or not. Isn't Big Brother Jiang just an ordinary adventurer? Shaolin's face was full of doubts. You pig-head. Have you ever seen an ordinary adventurer brave enough to go to the 100,000 mountains? Along the way, I've been secretly observing him. No matter what danger he encountered, his expression did not change. It was as if he did not care at all. Think about it. What was he doing when we were hunting the savage beasts? Shaolin's face changed and he recalled carefully. It seemed to be true. When they were fighting with the savage beasts, Big Brother Jiang was not afraid or excited. He was very calm. It was as if he was a detached observer, observing everything. Also, why did the dark operation of the Lord's mansion suddenly retreat? Lian Hu asked in a low voice. Could it be that Big Brother Jiang secretly scared them away? Shaolin's eyes widened. These are just my guesses. Lian Hu nodded. I suspect that Big Brother Jiang is very likely a 1-striped doja. This kind of powerhouse can already dominate a region in the Black Cloud territory. So I suggest that you quickly tell Grandfather Shao about this matter. If anything happens in the future, you can be prepared in advance. Shaolin's expression became serious. In the crowd not far away, Jiang Xi smiled and then disappeared. This little guy is quite vigilant. He was not afraid of being discovered as long as others did not find out that he was an alien. In terms of strength, a 1-striped doja was at the peak of the Golden Core stage, a 2-striped dosher was at the Nascent Soul stage, a 3-striped do spirit was at the Primordial Soul stage, and a 4-striped do zone was at the Unification stage. He had the confidence to deal with anyone other than the 4-striped do zone. The city of the Black Cloud territory was very large and could be called a giant city. Therefore, after Jiang Xi sneaked in, he was like a drop of water sinking into the sea, inconspicuous. He bought a quiet house and stayed there for the time being. Of course, the money was obtained from the warriors of the Lord's mansion when he saved Yunxiang. Rank 8 warriors were still very rich. After staying, he did not immediately go out to inquire about anything. He took out the Dao pattern secret technique he obtained from Yunxiang and looked at it seriously. The cultivation method is different from the original universe. What is the difference? After looking at it for a moment, Jiang Xi had the answer. The cultivators of the Dao pattern continent also cultivated Dao techniques. The difference was, after the cultivators of the original universe successfully comprehended Dao techniques, the Dao techniques were not in their bodies. Only during battle would they use their spiritual consciousness to connect with heaven and earth and use various Dao techniques to attack. From the inside to the outside, tiny cracks appeared all over his body. It was as if cracks had appeared on glass. Is this the limit of the body's tolerance for Dao art? Jiang Xi frowned. The spiritual power of the complete nascent soul stage circulated, and those tiny cracks immediately disappeared. Then, he looked at the progress of the Dao pattern technique. Dao pattern technique, 50 million/30 million per pattern. If I only integrated one Dao art into my body, I might be able to directly upgrade to 2 pattern. But now that I have 3 Dao arts, I have reached my body's limit in advance. However, the benefits of integrating 3 Dao arts at the same time are also very obvious. Although I haven't reached 2 pattern, my current physical fitness is not much different from that of a middle-grade spiritual artifact. Jiang Xi carefully felt the changes in his body. Next, he tried many times to continue to upgrade the level of the Dao pattern technique. But every time, cracks would appear on his body. He understood that if he really forcibly upgraded it, there was a high chance that his body would collapse. The Dao pattern blood crystal can increase the limit of the body's tolerance for Dao arts. I can only do it through this thing. Jiang Xi pondered carefully. The problem was, where could he get it? Directly go to the 5 great temples to apply? What a joke. There were definitely tribulation transcender powerhouses there. He would be walking into a trap if he went there. Chapter 378. As night fell, the Black Cloud territory was still very lively. Jiang Xi was like an ordinary tourist, wandering around the city, enjoying the night view of different civilizations. But there was always darkness hidden under the prosperity. Along the way, he saw many pedestrians being taken away by the dark operation of the Overlord's mansion. Some were just ordinary people. They cried and said that they were innocent. But the men in black from the dark operation ignored them. They even knocked them out in front of their children and took them away. If anyone resisted, they would be killed directly. Blood would flow all over the ground. As for those passers-by, other than some fear, they had no other emotions. They were numb. After the men in black left, everything returned to normal and continued to be lively. The cultivation civilization is prosperous, and the rules have become simple. There are only 4 words left: the weak are prey to the strong. This thought appeared in Jiang Xi's mind. Then he shook his head. To the battle pattern continent, he was just a bystander. This had nothing to do with him. Until late at night, he stopped at a secluded place. A man in black appeared in front of him and said sternly, "Check your identity. Take out your identification. You're the one who delivered yourself to me." Jiang Xi smiled. The man in black was stunned. In the Black Cloud territory, when everyone saw the dark operation, other than fear, they had never seen such an arrogant ordinary person. Phew! Before he could react, Jiang Xi was already in front of him. Soul Search. Jiang Xi pressed his hand directly on the top of the man in black's head and used the Soul Search technique. In less than a breath, the man in black lost all signs of life. A wisp of fire fell. The man in black, who had the strength of a level 7 martial artist, turned into nothingness. Not even ashes were left behind. Jiang Ci was not soft-hearted. These people were originally ruthless officials. They did things cruelly and their hands were stained with blood. So be it if he killed them. It was just to create some value for him. Then, he returned to the secluded house as if nothing had happened. As expected, it's better to be simple and crude. He had thought for a long time but did not know where to find the Tao pattern blood crystal. But he found someone to search their soul and he had a clue: the 5 sacred palaces will occasionally bestow some Tao pattern blood crystals to these city lords and lords. According to the memories of this rank 7 warrior, the suzerain of the Black Cloud territory, Qingliang, is a 2-line dosher. He had once received the Tao pattern blood crystal from the Fire Pattern Temple. This was exactly the information Jiang Ci needed. Under normal circumstances, if you don't have any special physical talents, after becoming a 1-line doja, you will be able to become a 1-line doja. If he wants to improve again, he will need to borrow the power of the Tao pattern blood crystal. Therefore, Overlord Qingliang must have fused with a Tao pattern blood crystal. Most importantly, Overlord Qingliang had previously obtained a few Tao pattern blood crystals. Did he still have any left? This was an uncertain factor. The probability of that is very high. Since he has already reached the level of a 2-line dosher, he will definitely want to continue improving. As a feudal lord who rules over tens of thousands of tribes, his network is different from ordinary Tao pattern cultivators. He might have other ways to obtain the Tao pattern blood crystal. It's him. Jiang Ci quickly made a decision. However, we still have to be cautious. A 2-line dosher wasn't a threat, but it was always right to be cautious. Through the soul search just now, he also obtained another piece of information. The atmosphere in the suzerain's mansion had been rather tense recently. It seems that you're not too clear about the situation in the Black Cloud territory. Xiao Yan laughed and then explained, the Yun family's matter is also a secret. Not many people know about it and I happen to be one of them. The Green Flame tribe is one of the top tribes in the Black Cloud territory and the Yun family is the family that rules this tribe. 10 years ago, their ancestor returned from the fallen god land and became a 2-line Do master. At that time, it caused a sensation because even in the entire Black Cloud territory, there were only a few 2-line Do masters. Later, a traitor appeared in the Yun family and the secret of the Yun family ancestor was spread out. It turns out that he was able to become a 2-line Do master because he obtained a powerful Tao pattern secret technique in the fallen god land. Lord should know that the Tao pattern secret technique that we cultivate can only cultivate one of the 5 elements Tao patterns into a Tao pattern to improve the realm of the body. However, the Tao pattern secret technique that the Yun family ancestor obtained can integrate multiple Tao patterns into the body at the same time. At this point, Xiaoyan's face could not help but reveal an excited and yearning expression. In his opinion, with Jiang Ci's strength, he would definitely know about the situation in the fallen god land. This was because many 2-mark Do masters would choose to cultivate in the fallen god land after reaching a bottleneck in their cultivation. Now that Jiang Ci asked him this question, perhaps he just wanted to know more from him. It's fine. You can continue. Jiang Ci nodded. Therefore, Xiaoyan organized his thoughts and said, Sir, you should have heard of the extraterritorial demon race, right? Jiang Ci didn't bat an eyelid. Extraterritorial demon race. I am one of them. Xiaoyan smiled and said, it is said that it is very difficult for the extraterritorial demon race to descend on our continent. This is because in the endless void, there is a heaven and earth boundary set up by the gods. Countless years ago, the extraterritorial demon race paid a huge price to descend on the Do Tattoo continent. They wanted to take over our world. At that time, the gods gathered and engaged in an earth-shattering war with the extraterritorial demon race. It is said that 10% of the Do Tattoo continent was shattered. In the end, we paid a terrible price to obtain victory and drive the extraterritorial demon race out. Since then, the extraterritorial demon race has not dared to invade us again. And the battlefield left behind by that war is the current fallen god land. Xiao Yan sighed. Beside him, the young Xiao Lin felt a sense of yearning. The War of the Gods was a legend of the ancient mythological era. Jiang Xi pretended to be surprised. It seemed that the strong people of the Dou Tattoo continent had chosen to conceal their history. The War of the Gods. It was probably a purge of the Dou Tattoo continent when the Purple Heaven sect was cleaning up the Third Heaven world. As for the talk of defeating the extraterritorial demon race, it was a little exaggerated. Any perfected lord from Purple Heaven sect would be able to suppress this mainland. What is so special about the fallen god land? Jiang Xi asked again. It is filled with evil aura that can affect one's mind. If one's will is not strong enough, they will lose their mind and become crazy after entering the fallen god land, Xiao Yan said solemnly. Jiang Xi could understand this point. After the death of an immortal Dao strong person, their Dao aura would not dissipate. In addition to the resentment, anger, and other negative emotions before death, it could indeed form a strong evil aura. Sir, since you are a two-mark dosher, you should know that fusing with the Dao pattern blood crystal requires not only a strong body, but also an extremely strong will, Xiao Yan said. Jiang Xi nodded. The Yun family's Dao pattern secret technique had mentioned this point. Although the fallen god land is extremely dangerous, it is also an excellent place to train one's will. Some strong Dao pattern cultivators would go to the fallen god land to train their will in order to fuse with more Dao pattern blood crystals. It is not only these strong people. For countless years, countless ordinary cultivators have risked their lives to enter the fallen god land. This is because if they are lucky, they can obtain the Dharma treasures and cultivation methods left behind by the gods. Take the Yun family's ancestor for example. He was such a lucky person. Unfortunately, he did not keep his luck and instead became a disaster. Xiao Yan sighed in the end. Jiang Xi was silent. The strong preyed on the weak everywhere. Next, Xiao Yan chatted with Jiang Xi about some other details. He also asked Jiang Xi about his purpose in coming to the Black Cloud territory. Jiang Xi, of course, said that he wanted to travel around and see different sceneries. These words made Xiao Lin extremely envious. After the grandfather and grandson pair left, Jiang Xi felt that he had gained a lot. This was because the mission introduction did not mention the fallen god land. He guessed that the gods should be existences in the Tribulation Transcendent Realm. Since it was the place where many Tribulation Transcendent Realm powerhouses had fallen, there should be good things. The Yun family's Dao pattern secret technique came from there. If I need to train my will in the future, I can consider going there. However, right now, the most important thing was to find a way to obtain the Dao pattern blood crystal. After another half a month, Jiang Xi quietly left the quiet courtyard. At the same time, he erased all traces of himself. Chapter 380. The Lord's Mansion of the Black Cloud Territory was located in the central area of the Black Cloud Territory. It occupied a large area, like a city within a city. At this time, in a gloomy prison of the Lord's Mansion, there was a row of warriors and ordinary people kneeling. They had different expressions: anger, despair, confusion, helplessness, and many were cursing. A team of Dark Unit warriors above level 7 were indifferently searching their souls. Soon, the prison fell into a dead silence. Everyone had died because of the soul search. The one in charge of this prison was a one-armed level 9 warrior. He said coldly, "No. Next batch." There were thousands of people in each batch. With their speed of soul searching, they could search tens of thousands of people in an hour. When night fell, the one-armed level 9 warrior came to Lord Qingliang's residence and reported the results of the day's soul searching. Lord Qingliang was a two-striped Dou master, the top warrior of the Black Cloud territory. After listening to the work report, his slightly feminine face frowned slightly. How many families and forces are left that are related to the Yun family? 95 families, 134 forces, a total of 81 million people. Now there are 4.6 million people left who have not been soul searched. The one-armed level 9 warrior did a good job. That remnant of the Yun family could hide under my nose for 10 years. There must be someone who helped her. Continue, leave no one alive. Qingliang said slowly. The lives of so many people were like grass in his eyes. As long as he could find the Yun family's Dao pattern secret technique, even if he killed 1 or 200 million, it was worth it. That unknown two-striped Dao master, are there any clues? Qingliang asked again. No. This has to be done in secret. The remnant of the Yun family is very likely to be saved by this person. Once you find out about him, inform me immediately. Qingliang urged. Yes. At this time, a voice came from outside the door. Lord, the daughter of the Qiao family has been sent as requested. Qingliang's feminine face showed an anxious smile. He said to the one-armed level 9 warrior, you can leave first. Whoosh, suddenly, a breeze blew and a young man in black armor appeared in front of the two. It was Jiang Xie. What? The one-armed level 9 warrior didn't have time to shout. Pucci, with a flash of sword light, the level 9 warrior comparable to the late gold core stage was cut into two. How dare you? Looks like it's you. Qingliang punched out. He was a 2-mark dosher, and his body was comparable to a middle-grade spirit weapon. Qingliang was confident that even a 2-line dosher of the same level would not dare to receive his punch head-on. Resist? Jiang Xie smiled. He reached out and grabbed the man's neck as if he was grabbing a chicken. Chi! At the same time, the sword pierced through his opponent's dantian, crippling his cultivation. His body was comparable to a middle-grade spiritual weapon. The sword in his hand was a supreme-grade spirit weapon. After that, he didn't stop. His figure flashed and disappeared. Boom! Boom! 2 loud sounds rang out. Only then did the 2 one-striped doja in charge of the guards rush over. Seeing the corpse on the ground, their expressions changed. Sir Lord is gone. Whoosh! In the next moment, 2 more figures appeared. One of them was a man in silver armor who looked very similar to Qingliang. The other person was a white-robed young man. Greetings, General. The 2 one-striped fighters hurriedly saluted the silver-armored man. It's the aura of a 2-line dosher. The white-robed young man said. Chase! The silver-armored man shouted in a low voice, his face full of anger. The 2 of them rushed into the sky. The 2 one-striped doja were left behind, extremely shocked. General is still in the Black Cloud territory. Didn't he say that he was going to the Fire Rune Temple to cultivate? He probably hasn't set off yet. If I'm not wrong, the white-robed young man is the priest of the Fire Rune Temple. He's here to pick up the general. The silver-armored man and the white-robed young man exuded a powerful aura as they searched the entire Black Cloud territory. However, after searching for a while, they didn't find anything. Brother Yang, I'm really sorry. I didn't expect this to happen. It seems that I can't go to the Fire Rune Temple to cultivate for the time being. The silver-armored man's face was very ugly. It was Sir In Tua who helped you to go to the Fire Rune Temple to cultivate. I can wait for a while. The most important thing now is to find your brother. The white-robed young man said. And this murderer is too arrogant. Even if the temple knows that you are wasting time, they won't say anything. He added. Thank you. The silver-armored man's face was tense. Now that his brother was captured by an unknown Dao pattern cultivator and he didn't know whether he was dead or alive, he was in a bad mood. The opportunity to cultivate in the Fire Rune Temple was fought for by his master, Sir In Tua. Unless it was a last resort, he naturally didn't want to give up. The white-robed priest's words made him heave a sigh of relief. When the 2 of them were searching just now, they didn't hide their powerful aura. Many of the Dao pattern cultivators in the Black Cloud territory were stunned by their auras. That's the Lord's brother, Qing Kai. Didn't he already go to the Fire Rune Temple to cultivate? The other person seems to be the white-robed priest of the temple. In a mansion, Xiao Yan was very surprised. The white-robed priest was a three-striped dueling spirit powerhouse and was extremely powerful. Just what had happened to make these two experts so furious? For some reason, Jiang Xi's figure suddenly appeared in his mind. At this time, above the clouds that shrouded the battle rune continent, outside the array barrier, a flying boat quietly stopped in the starry sky. My cultivation, you actually crippled my cultivation. Chen Liang was shocked and furious. Then, he saw the surrounding environment clearly. It was actually in the starry sky. He looked at Jiang Xi in shock. Outside the barrier, you are an extraterritorial demon. Jiang Xi smiled and didn't talk nonsense with him. He pressed his hand on the top of Chen Liang's head. Soul search. A moment later, the smile on Jiang Xi's face disappeared. As expected, the strength of the Lord's mansion is not as simple as it seems. Just now, when he was in the Lord's mansion, he caught Chen Liang with his sharp intuition. He sensed a dangerous smell. So he hurriedly left and flew directly outside the battle rune continent's barrier. From Chen Liang's memory, he learned that there was a three-striped dueling spirit general in the Lord's mansion. And this general was Chen Liang's brother. However, a three-striped dueling spirit is only equivalent to a primordial spirit cultivator. I'm not afraid of a real fight. Where did the danger come from? Jiang Xi frowned and pondered, then shook his head. In short, this operation was still a success. Then, he took Chen Liang's storage magic treasure. Although the battle rune continent's chi refinement Dao was backward, there were still storage magic treasures. As a lord, it wasn't surprising that Chen Liang had a storage magic treasure. After Jiang Xi simply refined the storage magic treasure, he took out a blood-red crystal that was only the size of a fingernail. After seeing this item, a strong desire appeared in his body. My luck is not bad. He really has extra Dao pattern blood crystals on him. According to Chen Liang's memory, his brother Chen Kai should also have a Dao pattern blood crystal on him. Chapter 381. Jiang Xi shook his head and chuckled. He put aside the idea of killing and robbing for now. It was not the time to think about this. He had to improve his strength first. After that, he did not enter the battle pattern continent. The flying boat continued to stop in the starry sky. He grabbed the Dao pattern blood crystal and began to refine it. What's so magical about this item? My body has a strong desire just by looking at it. With this thought in mind, Jiang Xi's spiritual consciousness touched the fingernail-sized blood-red crystal. Boom! His head felt like it had exploded. A very strong chaotic will surged into his mind and attacked his consciousness. With such a strong chaotic intent, the spiritual consciousness of a golden core cultivator would have collapsed immediately. Jiang Xi's expression changed slightly. Of course, he suppressed it easily. Other than the spiritual consciousness of a perfected nascent soul cultivator, there was another reason. There was an image of self-visualization in his mind. Just now, before he could even use his spiritual sense, the image of Guanji had automatically emitted a golden light to suppress the chaotic will. I didn't expect the peacock visualization to be useful here. Jiang Xi was surprised. He had obtained this visualization technique on Earth. It was an inheritance from the Buddhist ruins on Earth. Daoist Gu had reminded him not to expose the peacock visualization technique easily. Therefore, he had never used the image of self-visualization in his mind for a long time. However, he did not stop cultivating the image of self-visualization because it was the core of his spiritual consciousness. Every time his cultivation level increased, the image of self-visualization would also strengthen. Is this chaotic intent an evil thought? Is that why the image of self-visualization suppressed it? Jiang Xi was puzzled. He quickly put this thought aside because the Dao pattern blood crystal had turned into liquid and seeped into his body like blood. The next moment, a circle of three-colored Dao patterns appeared on his body and kept circling. The strange thing was that his body realm did not increase. However, he could feel that his body was undergoing some kind of deep change. It was as if he had formed a connection with the universe. In other words, his affinity with the heaven and earth Tao had increased. After a while, the deep change in his body ended. The circle of three-colored Tao patterns merged back into Jiang Xi's body. You have successfully merged with the Tao pattern blood crystal. Experience plus 100 million. The prompt from the experience panel unexpectedly rang in Jiang Xi's mind. Jiang Xi was stunned. What was going on? Fusing with Tao pattern blood crystals can also increase experience points. Moreover, he had added so much EXP in one go. This was something he had never experienced before. This item is truly miraculous. No wonder the Purple Heaven sect listed the Tao pattern blood crystal as the mission objective. Jiang Xi calmed his astonished emotions and continued to try to increase the level of the Tao pattern art. Although he had expected this, he was still pleasantly surprised by the result. This time, there were no more cracks on his body. The limit of his Tao had increased. In just half a day, the upgrade was completed. This time, there was a change in the realm of his body. Two three-colored Tao patterns appeared on Jiang Xi's body and merged with him. Two lines do shi. Phew, Jiang Xi directly passed through the flying ship's array formation and floated in the starry sky. Then, he chose a meteorite fragment not far in front of him as his target and rushed over. Boom! The meteorite fragment with a diameter of nearly 1,000 kilometers was directly shattered. Very strong. Jiang Xi praised himself. It was indeed very strong. Just the strength of his body had surpassed a mid-grade spiritual artifact. In other aspects, such as strength, speed, defense, toughness, agility, and so on, there were huge changes. He looked at the experience points panel. Frowny face Tao pattern technique, 2 lines, 1,300,000,000. My Tao technique is at the level of the Tao of heaven and earth. The 2 lines just now were formed from the Tao domain, so it can continue to be upgraded. It shouldn't be able to reach 3 lines, but the realm of my body will definitely increase a lot. 300 million EXP upgrade will take a lot of time this time. With this thought, Jiang Xi still used his clone on the first moon of Earth to refine the spiritual fruit. Time passed, and the entire Black Cloud territory was in a state of panic. Because Lord Qingliang's life stone had shattered, the news of his death had spread throughout the Black Cloud territory. The Lord's younger brother, Black Cloud General Qin Kai, had returned. He was furious. He slaughtered the remaining 4.6 million people related to the Yun family. Then, he mobilized all kinds of forces to find the murderer. However, after searching for half a month, there was no result. Qin Kai didn't know the motive of the murderer to kill his brother. But he knew that after so many days, the possibility of finding the murderer was not high. Damn it! The anger in Qin Kai's heart could not be quelled. In this generation of the Qin family, there were only 2 brothers. Now that his brother was dead, and he had to go to the Fire Pattern Temple to cultivate. Then, the Black Cloud territory would have to be handed over. In another part of the Black Cloud territory, Xiao Yan passed by the house where Jiang Xi lived. After carefully probing, he found that there was still no one inside. The Lord is dead, and Lord Jiang has disappeared for half a month. Xiao Yan's heart was still filled with shock. He was 60% sure that Lord Jiang was the one who did this. It's a good death, a wonderful death. Lord Jiang has done a good deed. He lightly hummed a tune and strode away. Of course, he wouldn't say these guesses out loud. The Chen brothers had done evil in the Black Cloud territory for many years and plundered countless cultivation resources. In the entire Black Cloud territory, whether it was an ordinary person or a Tao pattern cultivator, everyone hated the brothers. What Xiao Yan didn't notice was that on a tall building in the distance, Jiang Xi was leisurely drinking wine. His every move was under Jiang Xi's surveillance. This old man is quite alert. Jiang Xi smiled and shook his head. This was also related to the fact that he didn't deliberately hide his identity. Of course, he came back for the Tao pattern blood crystal. The day before yesterday, his body's tolerance for Tao had reached the limit again. Dao Pattern Technique, 2 Patterns 178. 25 million/300 million. Looking at the progress, he was still far from a 3-pattern doling spirit. However, Jiang Ci was still very satisfied with the effect of the upgrade. This was because the Dao patterns on his body were cultivated from 3 Dao patterns. Although his body was still a 2-pattern doling master, it was similar to a 3-pattern doling spirit. Its strength was already equivalent to a high-grade spirit weapon. This time, even a supreme-grade spirit weapon could only cause slight damage to him. He had also tested it. He used the supreme-grade spirit weapon, Killing Shadow Sword, to slash his body a few times. If he didn't use the power of Dao, he could only make a few cuts. Of course, this also depended on the level of the opponent. If a Dao integration stage expert used a supreme-grade spirit weapon, he would definitely be killed with one slash. The comparison just now was only applicable to opponents who were definitely not stronger than him. 2-pattern doling master, I have already completed the second goal of the mission. However, my body is still not strong enough. I need to continue improving, so I need more Dao pattern blood crystals. Chapter 382. Jiang Ci's target was naturally Qing Liang's brother. After my body realm improved, the feeling of danger disappeared. However, Qing Kai is a 3-striped fighting spirit, which is equivalent to a primordial soul stage cultivator. I still can't underestimate him. Up until now, Jiang Ci had never really fought with a cultivator who was not at the primordial soul stage. A 3-striped fighting spirit was not only equivalent to a primordial soul stage cultivator, but its body was also comparable to a high-grade spiritual weapon. Although he used a top-grade spiritual weapon, he did not have absolute confidence in breaking the defense of a 3-striped fighting spirit. Just as he compared before, an opponent of the same level could not break his defense with a top-grade spiritual weapon. If he were to break someone else's defense, it would be more or less the same. Moreover, he had once sensed a dangerous aura in the Lord's mansion. Intuition told Jiang Ci that the danger should not come from Qing Kai. Therefore, he became more cautious this time. After returning to the battle pattern continent, Jiang Ci investigated the surroundings of the Lord's mansion for a long time before he decided to make a move. Late at night, Lord's mansion. General Qing Kai exuded a tyrannical aura. In front of him was a ground full of corpses, emitting a strong smell of blood. Damn it! No matter how many people he killed, he could not vent the anger in his heart. Because the white-robed priest of the fire pattern temple would not wait for him for too long, at most a month. Now, half a month had passed. If he could not find the murderer, he could only give up on revenge. The opportunity to cultivate in the fire pattern temple was extremely precious. If he missed this opportunity, the next time would be 1,000 years later. What made Qing Kai most angry was that he chose to cultivate in the fire pattern temple. Not only did he give up revenge, but he also gave up the Black Cloud territory. Therefore, no matter what, this was a great loss for him. If I find you, I will destroy your soul. Qing Kai's tyrannical aura surged. Swoosh! Suddenly, a sharp sword light broke through the darkness and stabbed directly at him. Taking the initiative to come to me? How arrogant! Qing Kai shouted angrily. A mace appeared in his hand, and he smashed it towards the sword that had ambushed him. Clang! The sword and mace collided violently, producing a dazzling light. The powerful impact swept hundreds of kilometers, and the entire Black Cloud territory felt it. 2 figures, one in front and one behind, rushed out of the Lord's mansion and stood in the night sky. Qing Kai's body emitted a fiery red Dao pattern. His aura was like a rainbow, and he looked like a god fiend. On the other side was a black-haired youth. His body was emitting Dao patterns of 3 different colors. It was a little strange, but his aura wasn't any weaker than Qing Kai's. Therefore, in the eyes of outsiders, he was also a 3-striped Do Ling. Someone attacked the monarch's mansion again? Who is it? Many Dao pattern cultivators saw the battle in the sky above the Lord's mansion. One line Doja Xiaoyan's face was also filled with shock. Others might not recognize the black-haired youth, but he did. It really is Sir Jiang. He is actually a three-striped Dou Ling. At the edge of the Black Cloud territory, in an inconspicuous house. Yun Xiang, who had changed her appearance, also recognized the black-haired youth. Yes, benefactor. Could it be that Lord Qingliang was also killed by benefactor? Yun Xiang was filled with gratitude. That Qin Kai is a three-striped Dou spirit. Will N public enemy be able to defeat him? She was also worried. At this moment, her expression changed. Not good. In the sky above the Lord's mansion, another white-robed youth appeared. His body also emitted a fiery red Dao pattern. It was the white-robed priest of the Fire Rune Shrine. Three-striped Dou Ling experts. In the sky above the Lord's mansion. Other than the Fire Dao, there are two other unknown Dao techniques. So it is a heresy. When the white-robed priest saw the Dao pattern on Jiang Xi's body, his eyes were filled with coldness. Then he deserves to die. Qin Kai's killing intent was boiling. Jiang Xi's expression also became serious. The appearance of the white-robed priest made him understand the source of the danger he sensed previously. The aura of this white-robed priest was very close to that of a four-striped Dou Zong. In other words, this was a Dao pattern cultivator at the peak of the primordial soul stage. However, when he searched Lord Qingliang's soul last time, he did not get any information about this white-robed priest. This was a hidden expert. Looks like I have to use all my strength. Jiang Xi was prepared to use Dao techniques to attack. Now, the Dao technique realm and the realm of his physical body were his strongest means. After making the decision, the Dao of heaven and earth instantly descended. The Dao of sword, the Dao of fire, and the Dao of gale. Dao fusion technique. After the Dao techniques fused together, the strange power covered his body and the sword. His aura changed in an instant. Qin Kai and the white-robed priest's expression changed. However, they could not figure out what exactly happened to Jiang Xi. In fact, it was not their fault that they could not recognize him. The legend of the extraterritorial demon clan in the Battle Rune continent had been around for tens of thousands of years. Other than the true experts, many people had only heard of the extraterritorial demon clan but did not know what kind of methods they used. Therefore, the two of them did not recognize Jiang Xi's true identity and only thought that Jiang Xi was a heresy. No matter how much you change, you are still a three-striped Dou Ling. I don't believe you can become a four-striped Dou Zong. Qin Kai and the white-robed priest attacked at the same time. Qin Kai's mace was covered by the fiery red Dao pattern and suddenly became 10,000 feet long. Moreover, its weight seemed to have increased. Boom! The mace was like a towering mountain as it smashed towards Jiang Xi. The white-robed priest's body was like a rainbow and his fiery fist was like a meteor. He was also incomparably tyrannical as he approached Jiang Xi. My sword is different from before. Jiang Xi was very calm. Sword light flashed as he took the initiative to meet the attack. After cultivating the Dao pattern, his strength had increased further. Whoosh! The most obvious thing now was that his speed had increased by nearly half. He was even faster than the perfected primordial soul white-robed priest. In a battle between experts, if one's speed was faster, one would be able to seize the initiative. Therefore, Jiang Xi relied on his speed to dodge the attacks of the two. At the same time, his long sword approached Qin Kai and the white-robed priest first. With the support of the Dao fusion technique, the supreme-grade spirit artifact Killer Shadow Sword directly cut through space and landed on Qin Kai's body. My body is a superior-grade spirit artifact. You can't. Although Qin Kai was shocked by Jiang Xi's speed, he was also very confident in his body. The next moment. Pfft! He felt as if his body was missing something. Intense pain came. He was shocked to discover that his left hand was broken. What? Impossible! Qin Kai's expression changed drastically. This was a superior-grade spirit artifact body. Chen Kai, be careful. The white-robed priest's anxious voice sounded in his ear. Whoosh, a strong wind blew. A sword light once again cut through space and arrived in an instant. Chen Kai was a three-striped battle spirit after all. His reaction was very fast. He held the mace with one hand and directly smashed it out. However, he missed this time. The sword light was like a bubble and suddenly dissipated. Chi, the sword light whistled and pierced through Chen Kai's forehead. The power of the Tao pattern exploded, shattering his primordial spirit. Chen Kai did not understand two things until he died. Why was it that when the club smashed down, it was only an illusion? Why was his defense so weak? Chapter 383. What Chen Kai didn't understand even in death, the white-robed priest saw it clearly. He saw with his own eyes that Jiang Xi used his extreme speed to transform his body into a series of phantoms. Then, the longsword killed Chen Kai like a bolt of lightning. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. It was too fast. He wanted to save him, but he couldn't. The white-robed priest's expression turned grim. Just now, he thought that the two of them against Jiang Xi would be in a good position. Now, even if he had the strength of a four-striped grandmaster, he wasn't confident that he could defeat Jiang Xi. Of course, the white-robed priest was confident that it would be difficult for Jiang Xi to defeat him. As for killing him, that was even more impossible. Kill him? Unless it was a four-striped grandmaster. If Jiang Xi was a four-striped grandmaster, he wouldn't have needed to ambush him. No matter what grudge you have with the Cheng brothers, I advise you to surrender. Although the 5 sacred halls view you as heretics, they will still recruit cultivators who don't practice the 5 elements Tao. The white-robed priest suddenly said. You're stalling for time. Jiang Xi interrupted him. The white-robed priest's expression froze. Don't play such tricks. Jiang Xi smiled. At the same time, he attacked again. The sword turned into a green lotus, and countless rays of sword light shot out. The dazzling light covered the night sky. What kind of move is this? The white-robed priest was shocked. He didn't dare to be careless. He formed a fist seal with both hands, and fiery red runes gathered. A pair of fiery fists smashed into Jiang Xi's countless rays of sword light. Clang clang clang, his body was indeed strong, close to a top-grade spirit artifact. The rays of sword light landed on his body, leaving only small wounds. However, those were only a few hundred rays of sword light. Behind them, tens of thousands of rays of sword light whistled, carrying the might of heaven and earth. Soon, the wounds on the white-robed priest's body accumulated, and he was heavily injured. I've never seen such an attack. Where did he come from? The white-robed priest was shocked. He was a little afraid and wanted to retreat. If the Cheng brothers died, then so be it. He didn't need to avenge them. The most fundamental reason why he had come to Black Cloud territory was because of Chen Kai's master, Yin Tua. Retreat. However, before he retreated, he forcefully withstood Jiang Xi's sword light and once again clenched his fists to form a powerful fist print, preparing to counterattack. After that, he turned around and left. His figure was like a blazing bolt of lightning as he sped away. Trying to run. Jiang Xi's expression did not change at all. He was already prepared for this. The Tao pattern technique brought about a tyrannical body, while the Tao fusion technique brought about a powerful Tao attack. His body vanished from the spot, and in the blink of an eye, he caught up with the white-robed priest. He struck out with his sword. I am the priest of the Fire Rune Shrine. If you kill me, you will be hunted down. The white-robed priest shouted in horror. You're about to die, yet you're still so arrogant. Jiang Xi chuckled and did not show any mercy. The sword pierced through the white-robed priest's dantian and crippled his cultivation. Then, while his primordial spirit was dissipating, he pressed a hand on his head. Soul search. In just a moment, Jiang Xi's expression became dignified. The joy of victory had completely disappeared. He flipped open the white-robed priest's left hand. A communication bead was lying quietly in the priest's palm, indicating that a message was being sent. Then, his figure flashed and he came to Qing Kai's corpse. From Qing Kai's palm, he also found a communication bead. At this time, Qing Kai's communication bead also showed that someone had sent a message. Crack crack, Jiang Xi crushed the two communication beads. To be able to cultivate to the primordial spirit stage, no one is easy to deal with. The battle was so fierce, but these two still thought of sending the message. No wonder the white-robed priest wanted to stall for time. According to the white-robed priest's memory, Qing Kai's master, Yin Tua, is a four-mark Dozong, which is a Dao fusion stage cultivator. This guy sent my appearance to Yin Tua. Fortunately, I acted in time and did not let him continue to send it to the Fire Rune Shrine. But Dao fusion stage, even if it is early Dao fusion stage, he is not someone I can deal with now. Jiang Xi took a deep breath. Because the white-robed priest was beside him, he did not have the chance to search Qing Kai's soul. Now, it seemed that Qing Kai's master, Yin Tua, definitely knew of his existence. Jiang Xi frowned again. He was not worried that his identity as an outsider would be exposed. Qing Kai and the white-robed priest did not recognize his true identity. After I came to the Dou pattern continent, the person I came into contact with the most was that young warrior, Shaolin. I can just leave. Then, Shaolin and Xiao Yan will have to bear the brunt of Yin Tuo's anger. Jiang Xi did not doubt the methods of a Dao fusion stage cultivator. Perhaps Yin Tuo was already rushing here. Shaolin was a kind youth. If he was implicated and killed, he could not bear it. Whoosh, Jiang Xi disappeared into the night sky. At the same time, the Black Cloud region's warriors and Dao pattern cultivators were completely stunned. Who was that black-haired youth? He killed 2 three-striped Dou spirits alone. And one of them was the white-robed priest of the Fire Pattern Temple. Such a noble person was easily killed. This person was really audacious. Shaolin and his grandfather, Xiao Yan, were even more incredulous. The two of them came into contact with Jiang Xi the most. They never thought that Jiang Xi would be so powerful. While the grandfather and grandson were in shock, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. Lord Jiang! Brother Jiang! The two of them exclaimed. Then, they remembered something and quickly lowered their voices. Don't worry, they can't find me, Jiang Xi said with a smile. Brother Jiang, you're leaving. Shaolin realized something. Jiang Xi nodded and told him his worries and plans. That's how it is. Qing Kai's master already knows what I look like. His disciple was killed by me, so he definitely won't let it go. You've come into contact with me, so I'm afraid you'll be implicated. Now, I'll give you a choice. Leave the Black Cloud region with me. Of course, it's fine if you don't leave, but it'll be difficult to keep your life. 4-striped Dou Zone. No wonder the Qing brothers were able to dominate the Black Cloud region for so many years. Xiao Yan sighed. Then, he said seriously, Lord Jiang, take Shaolin away. Grandfather, you're not leaving with me. Shaolin was anxious. Of course, he was willing to leave. Xiao Yan laughed. Silly boy, this is your opportunity. Why should I get involved? And if I leave, what will happen to our Xiao family? Shaolin's eyes were red. He was not a reckless youth. He liked to think silently since he was young. So, he instantly understood what his grandfather meant. The Xiao family was considered a mid-upper class family in the Black Cloud region. There were more than 20,000 people. If the two of them left, the anger of the 4-striped Dou Zone would definitely be transferred to the 20,000 people of the Xiao family. Chapter 384. The grandfather and grandson were reluctant to part. Jiang Xi watched from the side and did not interrupt them. He only had some friendship with Xiao Lin and Xiao Yan, and did not know the rest of the Xiao family. Therefore, he could not bring everyone from the Xiao family away. Seeing that it was about time, he said to Xiao Yan, "I will use a spiritual sense technique on you and erase the memory of our meeting today. If you are lucky, you should be able to survive." "Thank you, Lord Jiang." Xiao Yan hurriedly thanked him. Jiang Xi smiled and used his spiritual sense. Xiao Lin and Xiao Yan fell into a deep sleep at the same time. A one-pattern dojo was equivalent to a golden court perfected cultivator. With his cultivation, he could easily erase Xiao Yan's memory by using a spiritual sense technique. Of course, he could not erase too much. Otherwise, it could easily cause the other party's spiritual sense to collapse and they would die immediately. After doing all this, Jiang Xi grabbed the unconscious Xiao Lin and disappeared without alerting anyone in the Xiao family mansion. After an unknown amount of time, Xiao Lin woke up from his deep sleep and his eyes were filled with confusion. How did I fall asleep? He had already forgotten everything that had just happened. At that moment, outside the formation barrier that enveloped the Do Tattoo continent, a supreme-grade flying ship was shuttling through the starry sky, flying toward the place where the Do Tattoo continent's fallen god. Jiang Xi sat cross-legged on the deck of the flying ship and beside him was the sleeping Xiao Lin. According to the white-robed priest's memories, the Do Tattoo continent also has flying spirit weapons. That Yin Tua is a 4-pattern Do zone, which is equivalent to the unification stage. The possibility of him having a flying spirit weapon is very high. However, there are large amounts of cosmic dust, star fragments, and meteorite fragments in the Do Tattoo continent's starry sky. Even if a flying spirit weapon like a flying ship has the ability to fly at light speed, it does not have enough space to accelerate to light speed. It can only fly at sublight speed. Yin Tua City, which was ruled by Yin Tua, was a main city of the Do Tattoo continent. The territory under its jurisdiction was huge, with the largest diameter of 1 billion kilometers. Black Cloud territory was only one of the main cities. If Yin Tua had a flying spirit weapon, even if he flew at sublight speed, he could reach Black Cloud territory in an hour. Xiao Lin can pass through the formation barrier with me, but Yin Tua can't come out. Thus, flying outside of the Do pattern continent is the safest option. Jiang Xi made full use of this advantage. He used a wisp of his spiritual sense to control the flying boat. At the same time, he flipped his hand and took out 2 storage magic treasures. Now, I can organize my spoils of war in peace. This is Chen Kai's. I wonder how many Dao pattern blood crystals he has. Soon, his spiritual sense was simply refined. Jiang Xi smiled, and 2 blood-red crystals appeared in his hand. It was one more than he had expected. Of course, this was not enough to surprise Jiang Xi. Next, he refined the white-robed priest's storage magic treasure and took out a brocade box. He opened the box and saw 9 Dao pattern blood crystals lying quietly inside. This was an unexpected surprise. Jiang Xi already knew about it when he searched his soul earlier. This white-robed priest was ordered by a 4-striped Do zone of the Fire Rune Shrine to bring Chen Kai to the Fire Rune Shrine to train. He would also give the 9 Dao pattern blood crystals to Chen Kai's master, Yin Tua. Risk and reward are proportional. Taking such a big risk, the reward is also very high. Unexpected reward. Jiang Xi put away the 11 Dao pattern blood crystals and then organized the 2 storage magic treasures. He also found a lot of valuable things and a lot of cultivation resources. Jiang Xi left for less than an hour. Black Cloud Territory, Overlord's Mansion. A young cultivator in silver armor exuded a killing intent that seemed to freeze into ice. It was Yin Tua, the city lord of Yin Tua City, a powerful 4-striped Do zone who had just arrived. Master, the chief steward of the Overlord's Mansion is here. A white-haired young man walked in from outside and bowed respectfully. Beside him, the chief steward, who was only a Dao pattern Do zone, trembled as he knelt on the ground. Greetings, Lord Yin Tua. He was terrified because the Overlord was dead. The Overlord's brother was also dead. What frightened him the most was that he just found out that the Overlord's brother was actually the disciple of this powerful cultivator. This is the murderer. I'll give you 1 day to find all the people who have been in contact with him. Yin Tuo's face was cold as he threw a portrait to the chief steward. The portrait was of Jiang Xi. Yes. Yes. The chief steward quickly retreated and went to find people. Yin Tuo looked at the night sky as the killing intent in his heart grew stronger. I'd like to see what ability you have to dare to kill my disciple. Among the many disciples, he was most optimistic about Qingkai. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spent so much to fight for the precious opportunity to cultivate in the Fire Rune Temple for Qingkai. But now, Qingkai was killed before he could go to the Fire Rune Temple. Master, that white-robed priest is also dead. I'm afraid the Fire Rune Temple will investigate. The white-haired young man said worriedly. Let them investigate. Mentioning this, Yin Tuo was even angrier. Because the Dao pattern blood crystal that he applied for from the Fire Rune Temple was on the white-robed priest. Now, it was the murderer who took advantage of it. Jiang Xi piloted the flying ship and flew at sublight speed for 15 hours before arriving at the starry sky 10 billion kilometers away from the Black Cloud territory. Let's stop here. He passed through the formation barrier and re-entered the Battle Rune continent. He could see a huge city on the ground below. When he arrived at the city gate, he woke Shaolin up. Brother Jiang. Shaolin was still a little confused. At that moment, he saw the name of the huge city in front of him and was stunned. Feng River Territory. He had never heard of it. This is the territory of Blue Smoke City. It should be thousands of territories away from the Black Cloud territory. Jiang Xi smiled. Thousands of territories. Shaolin's eyes widened. A territory was tens of millions of kilometers. Thousands of territories, that was at least 10 billion kilometers. I came to another main city after sleeping. Shaolin felt a little dizzy. The distance was too far. Even his grandfather, who was a one-striped doja, would have to spend decades to go to another main city. Brother Jiang, how long have I slept? He took a deep breath and asked. Not much. Only 15 days. That's good. That's good. It took you half a month to travel so far. Shaolin calmed down. If he had come so far in just 1 day, it would be too scary. He did not ask why Jiang Xi brought him here. He believed that Jiang Xi would not harm him. Then, the two of them entered the Feng River territory. The martial artist forces in the Black Cloud territory were mainly academies and families. The Feng River territory, on the other hand, was filled with martial artist sections. Jiang Xi quickly found a sect with a decent scale but was not very famous. It was the True Wood sect. The sect master of the True Wood sect was also a two-striped doja. He might not be enough in front of Jiang Xi, but in the Feng River territory, he was definitely one of the strongest. When he saw Jiang Xi, he quickly said respectfully, "Greetings, sir. You're clear about what I just said through spiritual sense transmission, right?" Riverward asked. Chapter 385. On the way here, Jiang Xi had already sent a voice transmission to the True Wood sect master in advance. Don't worry, sir. In the future, no one will dare to bully Shaolin in Fenghe territory, the True Wood sect master said as he patted his chest. I owe you a favor this time. When I return from my cultivation, you will definitely be rewarded, Jiang Xi said with an indifferent expression. Thank you, sir. The True Wood sect master was very excited. Not long ago, he received a voice transmission from Jiang Xi, asking him to help take care of a rank 4 warrior. What he did not expect was that Jiang Xi was actually a 3-striped fighting spirit. Usually, it was almost impossible to get a 3-striped fighting spirit to owe a favor. Now that he could get a favor from a 3-striped fighting spirit by taking care of someone, of course he was willing to do it. He would be willing to take care of 100 or even 1,000 rank 4 warriors, let alone a single one. Jiang Xi also understood this principle. Just like in the primal universe, a single sentence from a nascent soul powerhouse could make a nascent soul powerhouse follow suit. After that, he brought Shaolin to a side hall of the True Wood sect and waved his hand to set up a restriction that isolated spiritual senses. Shaolin, the place I'm going to next is very dangerous. You can cultivate in the True Wood sect for the time being. Here are some cultivation resources I've prepared for you. It's enough to support you until you become a one-striped fighting spirit. If you work harder, it's not impossible for you to become a two-striped fighting spirit. Of course, whether you can become a three-striped fighting spirit will depend on your luck. Jiang Xi took out a storage ring and handed it to Shaolin. It was a simple statement, but it left Shaolin stunned. Who exactly was Big Brother Jiang? One-striped fighting spirit? Two-striped fighting spirit? Three-striped fighting spirit? It sounded like those were nothing in Big Brother Jiang's eyes and could be easily achieved. Shaolin took the ring with shock and refined it. A rank 4 warrior was equivalent to an early-stage spirit vessel warrior and also had a spiritual sense. This storage ring was not of a very high grade, so he easily refined it. After seeing the items in the storage space, Shaolin was very excited. There were supreme-grade spirit stones, spirit items, Dao pattern secret techniques, and even a Dao pattern blood crystal. There were too many. The value of these things was 100 times, no, 1,000 times more than the wealth that the Shao clan had accumulated over thousands of years. Remember, don't let anyone know what's inside. Jiang Xi warned. Don't worry, Big Brother Jiang. Shaolin nodded excitedly. Jiang Xi smiled and spoke to the sect master of the True Wood sect. At the same time, he gave the other party some magic treasures as a reward. After doing all that, he left the area. Shaolin was still a teenager after all, and it was his first time being so far away from home. After Jiang Xi left, he was the only one left in the True Wood sect. He was unfamiliar with the place and the people. Therefore, he was still homesick and worried about his grandfather's safety. However, he knew that following Big Brother Jiang out was the greatest opportunity he had ever encountered in his life. Therefore, he quickly pushed these emotions to the bottom of his heart and began to cultivate diligently. On the other hand, Jiang Xi did not actually leave immediately. His spirit sense had been watching Shaolin the whole time. After observing all that, he nodded lightly. His efforts had not been in vain. Those spirit stones and spirit items were the leftovers from the storage magic treasures of Chen Kai and the white-robed priest. 2 three-striped fighting spirits equivalent to the primordial soul stage had accumulated a considerable amount of wealth. The Dao pattern secret technique was obtained from the soul search of the white-robed priest. It was considered top-notch. The people of the Dao pattern continent are all very talented due to the environment. With these cultivation resources, as long as Shaolin is diligent, he will definitely become a two-striped fighting master in the future. As for becoming a three-striped fighting spirit, he only gave Shaolin 1 Dao pattern blood crystal. It was definitely not enough. That was why he said that it would depend on Shaolin's luck. After that, Jiang Xi observed the situation of the True Wood sect. After confirming that there were no problems, he left for real and returned to the Dao pattern continent's boundary. The flying ship quietly floated in the starry sky. Jiang Xi sat cross-legged on the deck, deep in thought. In fact, he had already completed all his missions in the Dao pattern continent. 1. Obtain a Dao pattern blood crystal, reward 10,000 points. 2. Become a Dao pattern cultivator, two-striped fighting master, reward 100,000 points. There were 2 mission objectives. The mission would be considered a success if he completed the first one. He still had 10 Dao pattern blood crystals, and his Dao pattern technique had already reached two-striped. Because he had refined 3 Dao techniques, his body was comparable to a three-striped fighting spirit. After thinking about it, Jiang Xi decided to stay in the Dao pattern continent for a while. The Dao pattern blood crystal is a key item for cultivating Dao pattern secret techniques. I have to get more back this time. Otherwise, I don't know if I will have the chance to come back again. Also, the fallen godland hides a huge secret. The Yun family's Dao pattern secret technique came from there. I have to go and take a look. Let's not think about that for now. I have to raise my body to the limit first. He shook his head and took out a Dao pattern blood crystal. He then began to refine and absorb it. The fingernail-sized blood-red crystal turned into blood and merged with his body. Fuck! The next moment, Jiang Xi's expression changed. The chaotic intent this time was more than 10 times stronger than before. Roar! Kill! Kill! Roar! He could even hear all kinds of furious roars. They were frenzied and bloodthirsty. Jiang Xi's breathing became hurried, and his eyes turned red. His heart was filled with all kinds of anger and bloodthirsty emotions. The chaotic intent was affecting his consciousness. In his mind, there was an image of himself that was exactly the same as his appearance. At this moment, it was constantly emitting streaks of golden light to suppress the intense chaotic intent. But this time, the effect wasn't as obvious. Don't try to affect me. Jiang Xi clenched his teeth and tried his best to remain calm. After some time, the intense chaotic intent gradually calmed down and was finally suppressed by the golden light emitted by the image of himself. It is already so difficult to integrate the second Dao pattern blood crystal. No wonder three-striped fighting spirits are so rare. Intent. The requirement for intent is getting higher. Jiang Xi let out a long breath. Even with his cultivation, he was actually sweating. He carefully felt the changes in his body. He could clearly feel that his affinity with heaven and earth Dao technique had increased again. Suddenly, Jiang Xi was stunned. A thought flashed across his mind. If his affinity with heaven and earth Dao technique had increased, would the efficiency of the deduction increase? It had been half a month since he refined the first Dao pattern blood crystal. He had been focusing on improving his Dao pattern art and had stopped the deduction of Dao techniques. With this thought, Jiang Xi immediately started the deduction in his mind. Use the purple firmament sword scripture, sword Dao, and the lotus sword scripture to deduce once. Soon, the deduction ended. The efficiency has increased. Jiang Xi's eyes were filled with surprise. Chapter 386. The Green Lotus Sword Dao had a total of 9 evolution processes. 1 lotus, 4 lotuses, 100 lotuses, 1,000 lotuses. 10,000 lotuses, 1,000 lotuses, 100 lotuses, 4 lotuses, 1 lotus. A green lotus represented a change. Jiang Xi had already comprehended the first 2 evolution processes, which were the 5 transformations of 1 lotus and 4 lotuses. In addition, he had comprehended the first 21 transformations of the 3rd evolution process, which was 100 lotuses. All these added up to a total of 26 transformations. Now, he was deducing and comprehending the 27th transformation. In the previous deduction, he could clearly feel that his comprehension of the 27th transformation had deepened. If there was a definite number, it would mean that the deduction efficiency had become twice as fast as before. In addition to the Lotus Sword Codex, the deduction efficiency has increased by 10 times. When the two are multiplied, it is 20 times. Jiang Xi was extremely excited. In this way, his Sword Dao deduction speed was almost the same as when he was cultivating in the ancient Dao source world. Of course, it couldn't be compared to the 100-fold deduction speed at the Green Lotus altar. If my body refines 2 Dao pattern blood crystals, it will be twice as fast. If I refine 3 crystals, it will be 3 times as fast. If I refine 4 crystals, it will be 4 times as fast. With this deduction, as long as I refine more Dao pattern blood crystals, I will be able to reach the 100-fold deduction speed sooner or later. Jiang Xi's eyes were filled with vigor. More importantly, the Dao art deduction efficiency increased by the Dao pattern blood crystals was permanent and applicable to all Dao arts. It wasn't like the melody of 10,000 swords and the Lotus Sword Codex. Once he completely comprehended them, he would lose the additional effect of deducing sword Dao. At this moment, Jiang Xi understood more and more why the Dao pattern blood crystals could become the target of the Purple Heaven sect's danger grade mission. It could increase the affinity of heaven and earth Dao arts. It was too powerful. Moreover, the Dao pattern blood crystals were the key to cultivating Dao pattern arts. Dao pattern arts were mystical secret arts that use Dao arts to refine the body. Jiang Xi took a deep breath and calmed his agitated emotions. First, I will raise the Dao pattern arts to the current body limit. He wasn't sure if he could refine the second Dao pattern blood crystal. The tolerance of Dao arts would increase again, and his body would be able to reach the 3 pattern level. Next, Jiang Xi let his clone refine the spiritual fruits and increase the level of Dao pattern arts. Battle pattern continent, Black Cloud territory. The atmosphere in the Lord's mansion was extremely tense. A 4-line Do zone, Yin Tua, stood in the Great Hall. 2 corpses lay in front of him. Both of them had died from soul searching. If Jiang Xi was here, he would recognize him. The 2 people who had died were the middleman who had bought the house in Black Cloud territory and the original owner of the house. You found these 2 people in just one day. Yin Tua stared coldly at the Grand Steward of the Overlord's residence. The chief manager knelt on the ground and kowtowed, begging for mercy. Sir, please spare my life. The culprit is an outsider. There are very few people who have come into contact with him. Please give us one more day. We are still searching the entire city. Trash, you're all trash. Go out and put up a notice. If anyone knows who has been in contact with the murderer, they will be rewarded with 10 billion yuan. If anyone knows anything about the murderer, they will be rewarded with 100 billion yuan. Yin Tua still didn't punish the people from the Overlord's residence. After all, he didn't have many people here. It was impossible for him to do these things himself. Master, perhaps this person had been hiding outside the city before he made his move. He only entered the city when he made his move. The white-haired young man speculated. That's impossible. My spiritual sense found some traces in the Lord's mansion before this person attacked. Before he made his move, he had carried out a long and careful investigation of the Overlord's residence. This means that he had stayed in the city for a long time. Yin Tua said in a deep voice. It seems that this person is very cautious. The white-haired young man sighed. If I don't find this murderer, I won't be able to relieve the hatred in my heart. Now, those 4-striped Do zones from the other main cities and those old fellows from the Fire Rune Temple are laughing at me. They are laughing at me, Yin Tua. A disciple of a 4-striped Do zone was killed by a nobody. Yin Tua suddenly laughed coldly. The white-haired young man was silent. His master was a 4-striped Do zone who had risen to power in the last 10,000 years. He had affected the interests of many people, so there were many people who were laughing at him. The warriors from the Overlord's residence were very fast. Bounty lists were spread all over the city in a very short time. Suddenly, the entire city was boiling with excitement. As long as they found someone who had been in contact with the murderer, they would be rewarded with 10 billion yuan. If they could provide definite information about the murderer, they would be rewarded with 100 billion yuan. Look, mobilize the whole family to look for him. At least 10 billion yuan. With this money, I can exchange 10 women a day. No. I can even exchange 100 women a day. Look at your prospects. If I had that much money, I would have a chance to cultivate to a 9th-level warrior and earn more money. The whole city went crazy, looking for the murderer. At the entrance of the Black Cloud Academy, Lian who also saw the bounty list. The portrait on it and the high reward number made his breathing quicken. Late at night the day before yesterday, in the battle above the Overlord's residence, only some powerful warriors and Dao pattern cultivators could see Jiang Xi's appearance clearly. Young martial artists like them could only see a blurry figure in black armor. Now, after seeing the portrait on the list, Lian Hu recognized it at a glance. It was Jiang Xi. In other words, as long as he went to the overlord's residence now and told him the information he knew, as well as the relationship between Jiang Xi and the Shao family, he would be rewarded with at least 10 billion yuan. He clenched his fists and struggled in his heart. No, I can't go. Now we can confirm that Big Brother Jiang killed the overlord and the general, and Shaolin just disappeared yesterday. Maybe Big Brother Jiang took Shaolin away, or maybe Big Brother Jiang was afraid of exposing himself, so he killed Shaolin. In Lian Hu's heart, the first possibility was the most likely. Although he did not have much contact with Jiang Xi, he knew that Jiang Xi did not have to kill people to silence them. Otherwise, Jiang Xi could have gotten rid of them back in the 100,000 mountains. Moreover, the Cheng brothers were people who deserved to be killed. If that's the case, Shaolin got a great opportunity this time. Grandpa Shao helped me before. I can't betray them. I believe that even without this reward, I can become strong with my own talent. Lian Hu suppressed the desire in his heart. However, not everyone had his willpower. In the four-man warrior team that met Jiang Xi back then, besides Lian Hu and Shaolin, there were two other young warriors from the Black Cloud Academy. Lian Hu also considered this point and hurriedly went to find the two of them. However, he pounced on empty air. Not good. Lian Hu's expression changed drastically, and he rushed to the Shao family's residence. The Black Cloud territory was very big. Even though Lian Hu was a rank 5 warrior, it took him half an hour to reach the Shao family's residence. However, before he reached the entrance of the Shao family's residence, he saw from afar. A burly old man was forcefully taken away by the overlord's residence's people. The person in the lead was a white-haired youth. The ones leading the way were two young martial artists. Chapter 387. Grandpa Shao is a one-striped doja, but he was powerless in front of that white-haired youth. Fang Yi, Shi Xiang, those two bastards. Lian Hu's heart was filled with anger. He was one step too late. The two of them probably don't know much. Shaolin once told me that he and Grandpa Shao went to visit Brother Jiang. But that visit was very secretive and not many people know about it. If Shaolin didn't tell me, it would have been difficult for me to know. So, the possibility of Grandpa Shao and Brother Jiang being involved is very small. Lian Hu could only comfort himself like this. Damn it! Lian Hu gritted his teeth and tried his best not to reveal his anger. Even though he kept comforting himself, he knew that it was very, very difficult for someone who was captured by the Lord's mansion to come out alive. What Lian Hu did not notice was that in the bustling crowd, there was an ordinary-looking girl who was also watching everything. It was Yun Xiang. She looked at the people from the Lord's mansion and the two young warriors with a murderous look in her eyes. Xiao Yan was brought to the Lord's mansion and he was terrified. That white-haired youth just now had only used one move to subdue him. Sir, I really don't know the specific identity of that Jiang Xi. I only went to see him once with my grandson. Oh right, my grandson just happened to go missing that day. It's very likely that he was also killed by this person. Xiao Yan tried his best to explain. The white-haired youth glanced at Yin Tua. Master, according to the statements of those two young warriors, this person's grandson, Shaolin, had the most contact with the murderer, Jiang Xi. And Shaolin did indeed go missing the night before. Do you want to search Xiaoyan's soul now? It seems that this is a key witness. Use hypnosis, Yin Tua said softly. A soul search was fatal, but hypnosis would only hurt the mind, but not the life. The white-haired youth, who was a three-striped Do spirit, had no difficulty dealing with Xiao Yan, who was only a one-striped Doja. Xiao Yan, who was still trying to explain, suddenly lost his spirit under the hypnosis. Do you know Jiang Xi? Yes. Do you know Jiang Xi's background? I'm not sure. When was the last time you saw Jiang Xi? Late at night the day before yesterday. The white-haired young man was overjoyed, and then he quickly asked, "Where did you see him?" "Above the Lord's mansion." The smile on the white-haired youth's face disappeared. Many powerful martial artists and Dao pattern cultivators had witnessed the battle in the sky above the Lord's mansion late at night 2 days ago. In other words, Xiao Yan knew very little. The white-haired youth said, "Master, it seems that the key lies with that young man, Xiao Lin. There are 2 possibilities. Jiang Xi took Xiao Lin away, or he chose to silence Xiao Lin in order not to expose himself." Yin Tua pondered and said, "The first possibility is more likely. If it was just to silence people, with this person's strength, everyone who has seen him in the past few days would have been silenced. Keep Xiao Yan. I have a feeling that Jiang Xi or Xiao Lin will come back for him one day." Killing people was not the goal, but finding Jiang Xi, the murderer, was the ultimate goal. Time flew by and half a month passed quickly. A flying ship was quietly hovering in the starry sky of the Dou pattern continent. Jiang Xi was sitting cross-legged on the deck of the flying ship, not moving at all. Cultivating was also a form of solitude. Sitting for half a month like him was considered rare. For many cultivators with high cultivation bases, sitting for hundreds or even thousands of years was nothing out of the ordinary. Suddenly, 3 layers of 3-colored Dao patterns appeared on Jiang Xi's body. They kept shrinking and spiraling up and down, and finally merged into his body. His body's realm began to undergo a drastic change, and it rapidly strengthened. After a while, the change ended. Jiang Xi opened his eyes, full of surprise. His Dao pattern technique had broken through. His body's realm had truly reached the level of a 3-striped dueling spirit. He carefully felt the changes in his body. "Yes, my body's strength has surpassed a high-grade spirit weapon, but it's still far from a supreme-grade spirit weapon." Jiang Xi had already expected this. There was a qualitative change from a high-grade spirit weapon to a supreme-grade spirit weapon. It was very difficult to cross this boundary. He checked the changes on his experience panel. Dao pattern technique, 3 stripes, 13 billion, it could be seen from the experience points of a 3-striped dueling spirit. 3 billion experience points. This was currently the highest experience point on the entire panel. A 3-striped Dao pattern is the Dao of heaven and earth. If I want to reach the level of a 4-striped dueling grandmaster, I need a Dao technique at the level of a great Dao. So now, I can at most raise my Dao pattern technique to the limit of 3 stripes. However, since I've refined 3 types of Dao of heaven and earth at the same time, my body's strength might reach the level of a supreme-grade spirit weapon at the 3-striped level. The last point was Jiang Xi's guess. Whether his body could be comparable to a supreme-grade spirit weapon before the 4-striped level was still unknown. Immediately after, Jiang Xi continued to raise his Dao pattern technique. It was worth mentioning that the strength of his original body and clone increased at the same time. Therefore, the clone's efficiency of refining spiritual fruits had greatly increased. In just 10 days, he had reached the limit of his current Dao technique. Dao pattern technique, 3 stripes, 300 billion, 3 billion, if he continued to raise it, more wounds and cracks would appear on his body, and it would cause his body to collapse. My body's strength has increased a little. As expected, the further I go, the harder it is to raise it. Jiang Xi shook his head and took out another Dao pattern blood crystal. Let's refine another one to raise the limit of my body's Dao technique. Let's see how much my experience in Dao pattern technique can increase. Immediately after, he used his spiritual sense and spirit power to refine the Dao pattern blood crystal. When the Dao pattern blood crystal turned into blood and fused into his body, an extremely strong chaotic will appeared once again. Roar! Kill! Kill! Woo! I can't accept this. I can't accept this. Damn, it's happening again. Jiang Xi suddenly clenched his fists. All the muscles in his body bulged, and his veins were like small snakes that kept surging. All kinds of angry, bloodthirsty, and crazy roars filled his mind. They were clearer and more violent than the last time. Hang in there. Hang in there. Jiang Xi felt that his consciousness was like a small boat in the sea that was constantly being battered by the chaotic intent. It could capsize at any time. Roar. Kill. Boom. It was as if there was a violent explosion in his mind. Jiang Xi's consciousness was about to collapse. Suddenly, the blood formed by the Dao pattern blood crystal instantly flowed back from his body. It quickly gathered in his palm and turned into a blood-red crystal the size of a fingernail. Failed? Jiang Xi was sweating profusely as he panted heavily. My willpower is still not strong enough. After all, the strength of my spiritual sense is only at the complete nascent soul stage, which is equivalent to a 2-striped Do Shi. He could reach the level of a 3-striped Do spirit with his spiritual sense at the complete nascent soul stage. Even on the Do Tattoo continent, this was a rare occurrence. It was enough to prove his talent and willpower. Chapter 388. The strength of one's spiritual sense was related to one's cultivation, but willpower was related to one's state of mind. This meant that Jiang Xi's heart was very strong. Correspondingly, his willpower was also strong enough. It's not enough. I need to hone my willpower. It seems that I have to go to the fallen god land. However, before that, I need to get more Dao pattern blood crystals. Thinking of this, Jiang Xi smiled. Although he had not reached the limit of a 3-striped fighting spirit, his physical realm was stronger than most 3-striped fighting spirits. Before his breakthrough, he could kill 2 3-striped fighting spirits when he used his Dao techniques and went all out. Moreover, the white-robed priest was a top powerhouse among 3-striped fighting spirits, equivalent to a perfected primordial soul. Now, if he were to fight with Chen Kai and the white-robed priest, he believed that he would have an easier time. Therefore, he had always had a plan. The battle pattern continent has hundreds of millions of territories and millions of main cities. These lords and castellans have Dao pattern blood crystals bestowed by the 5 temples. The castellans are all 4-striped Do zones. I definitely can't provoke them, but most of the lords are 2-striped Do masters and 3-striped fighting spirits. Just like killing the lords and generals of the Black Cloud territory, I can hunt the lords of the various territories. Even in 10,000 territories, killing one would at least give me tens of thousands of Dao pattern blood crystals. Moreover, there are often expeditions, wars, and vendettas between the various territories and main cities. The death rate of Dao pattern cultivators is not low. The death of one lord in 10,000 territories is insignificant and won't attract attention. Jiang Xi sorted out the train of thought that he had previously thought of. This was a big business that could be done. The reason why he generously gave Shaolin a Dao pattern blood crystal was also because of this. He had this plan long ago. Jingshan City, Moon Stallion Territory. Lord Gong Sui was the #1 expert in Moon Stallion Territory, a famous 3-striped fighting spirit. This person had ruled Moon Stallion Territory for 4,000 years. Under his rule, the people, warriors, and Dao pattern cultivators of Moon Stallion Territory were full of complaints and suffering. Gong Sui was fine as he cultivated in seclusion all year round. The main reason was that the members of the Gong family relied on Gong Sui's existence to commit all kinds of crimes in Moon Stallion Territory. On this day, a great battle broke out in the Yuefang Territory's mansion. Many martial artists and Dao pattern cultivators realized that Overlord Gong Hun, who had been in seclusion for more than 10 years, was like a demon god. Exuding a powerful fiery red aura, it was fighting with a black shadow. The most shocking thing was that the speed of the black shadow was too fast. Moreover, its body was much stronger than the 3-striped Do Ling Gong Sui. The battle lasted for less than 10 breaths before the black shadow turned into 10,000 phantoms. 10,000 sword lights shot out at the same time, killing Gong Gui in the sky above the Lord's mansion. After that, the shadow disappeared without a trace. But at this moment, no one cared who the black shadow was. Because the Thane was dead. The Gong family's backing was gone. Soon, the martial artists and Dao pattern cultivators who had been bullied gathered at the Lord's mansion. They uprooted the Gong family, which had been evil for many years. Not a single one of the tens of thousands of clansmen was left alive. Of course, what happened after that had nothing to do with Jiang Xi. After killing Lord Gong Sui, he returned to the outside of the barrier. 3 Dao pattern blood crystals. Not bad, not bad. A good start. Jiang Xi tidied up the storage Dharma treasures that he had just obtained. At the same time, the flying ship shuttled to the next location at sublight speed. After traveling for an hour, they landed at a place that was hundreds of territories away from the Moon Shadow territory. Then, they would find their target, hunt, steal their treasures, and leave, including the time spent on reconnaissance. With Jiang Xi's efficiency, he could hunt at least 10 times a day and obtain more than 10 Dao pattern blood crystals. There was no good or evil in this kind of hunting. It was just the law of the jungle. It was pure plunder. In the starry sky of the Dao pattern continent, the Six Sage Palace, which was comparable to the size of a planet, had existed for countless eras. In one of the side halls of the Six Sage Palace, there were countless three-dimensional images. Close to 100 Dao integration cultivators were monitoring the situation in the Dao pattern continent in real time. Junior brother Jiang Xi, who has just entered the third heaven, has been acting a little strange recently. Everywhere in the Dao pattern continent, a Dao integration expert was puzzled. The frequency is a little high. More than 10 times a day. Junior brother Jiang Xi is also bold. This is the first time he has accepted a cultivation mission, and he dares to come to the dangerous Dao pattern continent. Alright, be serious. There are a few immortal Dao experts above who think highly of junior brother Jiang Xi. If anyone follows junior brother Jiang Xi and rushes up, kill them immediately. Under normal circumstances, the cultivators of the Dao pattern continent would not be able to pass through the all-encompassing array boundary. However, if someone was fast enough, they would have a chance to follow Jiang Xi out the moment he passed through the boundary. This was an extremely small probability, but it was not impossible. Then, Jiang Xi's frequency in the Dao pattern continent continued for 3 years. He seemed to be in a killing frenzy and could not stop. After all, the profits were too high. Although he would return empty-handed sometimes, he would basically reap some rewards. Even without Dao pattern blood crystals, 2-striped Dao Shi and 3-striped Dao spirit cultivators had accumulated a considerable amount of wealth. These two levels were equivalent to the nascent soul stage and the primordial soul stage. No matter where they went, they would not be poor. In addition, it was the same as Jiang Xi's plan. In these 3 years, the high-level experts of the Dao pattern continent did not discover that he had been crazily hunting the lords of various places. After all, the Dao pattern continent was too big. The largest diameter was 100 million light-years. Even if one flew at 1 time the speed of light, it would still take 100 million years to fly from one end to the other. Only when a cultivator reached the Dao immortal realm or above would they have an endless lifespan. Therefore, even a 9th tribulation transcender would not be able to cross the Dao pattern continent within their limited lifespan. It was also useless to have a high-grade flying spirit artifact. This was because there was a large amount of cosmic dust, star fragments, and meteorite fragments in the starry sky around the Dao pattern continent. There was not enough space to accelerate to the speed of light. The huge territory, coupled with the inconvenience of transportation, caused the flow of information not to be very smooth. Therefore, the possibility of Jiang Xi's actions being discovered by the high-level experts of the Dao pattern continent was very small. Of course, as the saying went, if one walked by the river, how could one's shoes not get wet? On this day, in the Thousand Guilt territory, which was about 2 trillion kilometers away from the Black Cloud territory. After a careful investigation, Jiang Xi was ready to make his move. The Lord of the Thousand Guilt territory was a 2-striped Dao Shi. He had cultivated for less than 1,000 years and was very talented. The possibility of him having Dao pattern blood crystals was very high. Taking advantage of the night, Jiang Xi sneaked into the Lord's mansion and prepared to kill him in one blow. Killing a two-striped dosher was very easy for him. Boom! However, just as he swung his sword, a burly man with a faint golden light rushed out from under the Lord's mansion. He emitted a terrifying aura. Scram! His leg carried a golden light, and with the force of a thunderbolt, he sent riverward flying. Chapter 389. Puff, Jiang Xi spat out a mouthful of blood. His body flew out uncontrollably, crashing into countless buildings in the Thousand Guilt territory. Even though his body's toughness surpassed that of a high-grade spiritual weapon, cracks began to appear on his body, which was on the verge of collapsing. This kick was too powerful. Damn it, a four-striped Do Zone. Run! A four-striped Do Zone was a Dao integration stage existence. Jiang Xi was shocked. He did not have time to regain control of his body. The flying ship appeared instantly. Then, he steered the flying ship and flew into the sky. How dare you assassinate my son? How audacious! Even if you run to the ends of the earth, I will kill you, you bastard. A flying spiritual weapon appeared under the feet of the golden-haired man, who was emitting a terrifying aura. He chased after Jiang Xi. A top-grade flying spiritual weapon. What a fast speed! The golden-haired man's eyes shone with a blazing golden light. However, compared to Riverward, his speed was only faster and not slower. He was a four-striped Do Zone, and his body was comparable to a top-grade spiritual weapon. Even though he was using a high-grade flying spiritual weapon, his flying speed was still faster than Jiang Xi's. You are seeking death by running to the sky. The golden-haired man sneered. When the cultivators of the Do Tattoo continent reached a certain level, they would be informed by the temple. There was a heaven and earth boundary in the sky that protected the Do Tattoo continent. Even a four-striped Do Zone could not break it. He was a four-striped Do Zone. Of course, he knew that this was a lie. That heaven and earth boundary was left behind by the extraterritorial demon race countless years ago, trapping them in this world. As long as one was a cultivator of the Do Tattoo continent, they would not be able to pass through the heaven and earth boundary. As the saying went, there was no way to heaven and no door to hell. In the eyes of the golden-haired man, this assassin was already a dead man. The distance between the ground and the sky was not too far compared to the vast territory of the Do Tattoo continent. In just a moment, the two of them approached the invisible heaven and earth boundary. You can't escape. A cold light flashed in the golden-haired man's eyes. The golden light around his body condensed into a long spear, which he threw out. The golden long spear had a powerful aura. It cut through the air and pierced toward the flying ship in front of them. However, the next moment, the golden-haired man was stunned. The flying boat that the assassin was piloting had actually passed through the heaven and earth boundary. Extraterritorial Devil Clan. The golden-skinned man was shocked. Only the extraterritorial devil race could disregard the existence of the barrier. The golden-haired man stood in the thick fog and looked up at the invisible sky, falling into silence. The extraterritorial devil race has arrived. This matter is of great importance. We must inform the Golden Vein Temple. The Thousand Guilt region was under the jurisdiction of the Golden Vein Temple. The Golden Vein Temple had to be notified first. Jiang Xi steered the flying boat through the array barrier of the battle pattern continent. He didn't stop there either. He shuttled through the starry sky at sublight speed and quickly left this place. At the same time, he sat cross-legged and circulated his spiritual energy to suppress his injuries. One healing spiritual pill after another was refined by him. It took an entire day for his body to fully recover. The hideous and terrifying cracks on his body disappeared without a trace. A 2-line dosher at the Yuanying stage actually has the protection of a 4-line Do Zone at the unification stage. I am really lucky. Moreover, this person cultivates a metal-type Dao art. After cultivating a Dao pattern, his body is much stronger than an expert of the same level. That kick almost killed me, Jiang Ci bitterly smiled and shook his head. This was the result of being approached by a high-level Dao pattern cultivator. If not for the fact that he also cultivated Dao pattern techniques and that his body was stronger than a high-grade spirit artifact, he would have been kicked to death just now. However, this kick also woke Jiang Ci up. If you hunt birds every day, you will eventually be pecked in the eye. This time, I was lucky. If I encounter a 5-line Do King at the Tribulation Transcendent stage next time. Moreover, that golden-haired man has already discovered that I came from beyond the heavens. He will definitely report this matter to the 5 temples. If I want to hunt like this in the future, it will be much more difficult. Jiang Ci shook his head and woke up from his crazy hunting state. It was time to stop. 3 years of sleepless hunting. The harvest is already more than enough. Riverward laughed heartily. In his storage ring, the Dao pattern blood crystals had already piled up into a small mountain. Counting carefully, there were a total of 14,586 of them. I'm afraid that none of the Purple Heaven sect disciples who came to the battle pattern continent could obtain so many. There were definitely people who wanted to do this kind of crazy hunting method to obtain Dao pattern blood crystals. However, there were very few people who had the strength of Jiang Ci at the nascent soul stage. First of all, it was extremely rare for a nascent soul stage cultivator to cultivate 3 Daos of heaven and earth at the same time. Secondly, although the difficulty of obtaining Dao pattern techniques was not high, the difficulty of cultivating them was very high. Using 3 Daos of heaven and earth to cultivate Dao pattern techniques was even more difficult. Moreover, obtaining the Yun family's Dao pattern secret technique required too much luck and could only be chanced upon by luck. Therefore, there were very few people who had just become a 3-line Do spirit and had a body that surpassed a high-grade spirit artifact. Finally, only Jiang Ci had the experience panel. This was the key. It's about time to go to the fallen god's land. This place is about 1 trillion kilometers away from the fallen god's land. Flying at sublight speed will take about 2 months. I can make use of this time to rest and reorganize. Jiang Ci adjusted the flying ship's direction and flew towards the fallen god's land. In the following time, he hurried along the way and cultivated. During this time, he tried to refine the 3rd Dao pattern blood crystal. Unfortunately, he still failed. His willpower still could not withstand the impact of the chaotic willpower. Jiang Ci did not force it. Besides, he also took the time to inform Jiang Daodu that he was safe. Because he had been in the robbing business for the past 3 years, he had less contact with Jiang Daodu. Not only Jiang Daodu, but he also contacted Shen Tian, Li Baibai, and his master, the Wine Sword Immortal, who was far away in the ancient Dao source world. Time flew by. 2 months passed. The flying ship arrived above the fallen god's land on the battle pattern continent. As soon as he arrived, Jiang Ci's expression turned serious. This was because the thick fog in this area had a strange blood-red color and was flowing slowly. Even though they were separated by an array formation barrier, they could vaguely feel the vexing and irritating murderous aura. How strong is the murderous aura below? Jiang Ci was on high alert. He put away the flying ship and disappeared into the thick blood-red fog. In the starry sky, in the 6 Worthies Palace, which was comparable to a planet. In the side hall in charge of real-time monitoring of the battle pattern continent. Many Dao integration experts saw Jiang Ci enter the blood-red fog in the fallen god's land through one of the images. I knew that this strange genius junior brother would not be able to resist the urge to go to the fallen god's land to take a look. A Dao integration expert smiled knowingly. The fallen god's land is extremely mysterious. According to the records of the 6 Worthies Palace, countless epochs ago, the fallen god's land has conquered the fallen god's land. In order to conquer the battle pattern continent, many immortal Dao experts of the Purple Heaven sect have died there. It is the most dangerous place on the battle pattern continent. I wish him good luck. Ever since the battle pattern continent was conquered, the 3 gates and 6 sects have had many outstanding disciples. They entered the fallen gods' land out of curiosity, but they all lost their lives in the end. Another person sighed. The others nodded in agreement. They were in charge of monitoring the battle pattern continent, so they naturally knew all kinds of secrets. Of course, if he is lucky and can gain something from it, then it will be a great benefit. The group of Dao integration experts knew that the fallen gods' land was very dangerous, but they did not stop Jiang Xi. Everyone's path was chosen by themselves, and they wouldn't interfere. Their mission was to eliminate the battle pattern continent cultivators who had escaped the array formation barrier. Although the probability was very small, it was not impossible. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.